Now we're getting ready to start up here. And I got to find out what's going on with Dave here in a second. But anyhow, this is Ed Johnston. This is the disclaimers with Dave Buse and Ed Johnston. We would like to thank you for joining us tonight. We are an education show. We do read the laws and information. We do not go by feelings and emotions. The feelings and emotions are for TVs and movies, not humans. Because it doesn't work when you have emotions. Compassion, yes, but emotions is frustrating. So, but anyhow, trying to figure out how I want to start this point. We want to get into what transpired last evening, too, but also, too, I want to see, don't see Dave here yet. I want to get into it because he had a couple things he wanted to get into, and my screen just went black. I just got to quit screwing with this thing and just start getting going here. Anyhow, we would like to thank you for joining us tonight. This is one thing we're going to be getting into tonight, dealing with the frustration of names and information that is going on. The one thing is that we went through a conversation with the what they call continental judges and continental marshals last evening, and apparently they started a new website called Lawful American Solutions, which is interesting, seeing that me and Dave I've been using Lawful Americans, Lawful Bloodline Americans since 1999. I've been using both of those references with the Oregon State House and Senate since 1999. Some of that reference are in my Senate bills that I had with the Senate and House and Congress, 1999-2007. So we're going to this point where everybody's going with disclaimers and all this stuff. And let me just tell you something. It's just getting so frustrated that there's too many children. It would be nice to really start having some adults participating and knowing what our system is. Now, the one point I want to really get in to specify that I put out, and everybody's been doing this structure going after their driver's license, and they're claiming to be a foreign national. Well, I'll tell you what just came out of Congress here, folks, and what's going to be coming down with deportation. Claiming to be a foreign national. Okay, hang on. Let me tell this guy the one number. Hang on.
While Ed's doing that, I would like to apologize to people for putting out the wrong contact number for tonight's call. Instead of 702, it should have been 712.
Anyhow, I'm back. So anyhow, I had to let people know because the one number was off on the deal at 702 apparently on it instead of 712. But anyhow, it gets really frustrating on what's going on because most of this thing is supposed to be educating to get people to make sure elected and public servants do their job. And that goes back to the treaty, the de facto contract of the Constitution that the government did in 1871 after the Civil War of March 22nd, 1860, when the South walked out of Congress. Because the North was not going to pay taxes. The South paid taxes. The North did not. We were never involved in taxation. Remember, the Tea Party started in over near New England, and that came from the township of the colonists that didn't want to pay the new excise tax to tea coming into our country. Now, men and women that are lawful do not pay taxes, and we're not supposed to, and that's even by the IRS codes. But nobody wants to read the facts of what's going on. Everybody wants to go and argue, get into this structure or that structure. Now, I'm going to be putting up the Trent Alley tape again. You can watch this state on this, that dealing with Trent Alley, Trent Gowdy. And, dealing with Trent Gowdy with that structure is like the videotape they just came out and was saying that the foreign nationals are the first ones they're going to be shipping out. So that means when people sit there and change all their ID and structure instead of claiming themselves lawful to this country, not legal, because now if you're national, Now you're a legal citizen. You concurred that you are a legal citizen, foreign national. Because that was what the 14th Amendment does, put the foreign national structure into place. That was a start, and the birth certificate structure did not come in place until March 9th, 1933 by FDR. That's when they put a $630,000 bond, birth certificate bond, on each one of the child that was born in this country. All right. Now that gives us our bond when World War I, when the British went to debt and the bankers went to debt to we the people. We the people have no debt because we were not a corporation in war. We didn't sign the notes for wars, like the one thing I say with all the people that are claiming that, oh, we owe China this and that, so we need to give them, Yellowstone and this property and that property. No, we don't. We didn't sign the contract. Those men and women signed the contract. We put them on an airplane to China with the personal belongings, and we take their assets back, their land. We send them to go deal with them. We didn't sign the contract. We're not giving up our public rights, for their greed, their personal contracts that they signed for their own greed. See, if we don't start standing up and start realizing that this land is our land and that we're not here to argue with each other, because if we have public right-of-ways, we all hunt and fish. That's where we have to show common courtesy out in public. All right? That's not just the city. That's the woods, hunting, fishing, traveling. The reason why a lot of the woods started getting closed down was because, there was murders and stupid shit that happened in the woods instead of people taking responsibility, or people wanted to get drugs and alcohol. Hey, great. I don't care if you want to get drugged up or get boozed up. But when you do something, go ahead. Okay. I think he is, too. I haven't got the message, but I was going to get ready for that. So, but anyhow, just because you're sitting out there and you're doing your partying, you do stupid shit. Everybody does stupid shit. Just take the responsibility. That's the point, that we're not living in that responsibility of realm. So I did tell Dave what happened. And, Dave, are you there yet?
Yes, I am.
Good. Now, I did tell Dave what was going on last night, and I wanted to make sure because I'm doing this publicly, and seeing that I know how the public structure works when you're doing stuff on Facebook, because remember, Facebook is public, not private. The Supreme Court has stated that everything you put on Facebook, your filings or whatever you put on Facebook, is a liability issue to the man or woman that is putting it up on Facebook. So it's a public record. That's why me and Dave put all of our stuff up on public record, besides emailing it out to the media, to Congress, to people involved. Not only that, until I had money stolen out of my house again, I publicized a lot of this stuff in the mainstream media myself. This way it could not be a conflict of interest. And I do have those newspaper articles that were published. I even have the ones that we published, the Constitution that was restamped in 1993 by the Queen of England. The one-page Constitution is the law of this land. And everybody wants to argue about codes and stuff. Those codes, USC codes, came from deliberating with the Constitution, with House and Senate members, and the lawsuits that have been filed and went to the Supreme Court. And so if you don't know how the system works, or how a bill gets introduced, or how administrative rule be changed because of a lawsuit that was filed, okay, and I know people don't realize how all the ins and outs of all this really do work. So when there is a lawsuit that is filed, and a winning lawsuit, they go in and change administrative rules because they can't afford to have that come out of their retirement packages. Yes, we know that the Internal Revenue Service makes false money. But you have to realize, if the IRS shuts the banks down tomorrow, how are you going to buy food? How are you going to pay for gas? If you don't have barter trade right now today, and that's all you have is that income that comes by the revenue note, how are you going to survive until you figure out the other means? So this is the one thing that people short-side their thinking, without looking down the road of how they're going to protect their family. You don't have food growing in your property. You don't have at least a minimum 500 gallons of minimum 500 gallons of water on your land, just in case you need it. You don't know if you need it for plants or to survive yourself. And this is the point. People don't look at these things of how simple life really is. We make life complicated because people get in the points where they want to go search. And most of the time, people have no idea what they're searching for. And so I wanted to touch off on that, and I want to get back into that for a moment. But like I said, dealing with transpired last night and stuff, very interesting the circumstances and the way I look on the attack. But I want you to, when you follow people's advice or opinions or their knowledge, it's up to you to be the adult, you to do the research, you to follow through. I've been trying to, it's like I went on the phone 9 hours today, just on the phone, couldn't get the other writing. There's 3 other cases I'm working on right now. I haven't been able to get those 2 cases, that 2 of them I was supposed to get out yesterday. I still got to finish up mine. I'm not bitching. I'm just saying is that, there's a lot going on that I'm involved with too. I'm working with a lot of other people on structures that we are putting together, making sure that we're able to prove it, to come out with the facts to prove it. And that's the one thing I admire about Mr. D.L. Harris, because he proved it. He didn't sit there and say this or that or the other thing. He proved it and says, hey, I can honestly say it worked because I've seen it with my own eyes. And that's what we want to make sure. The court cases go through like this. We're working with each other to make sure each other has become a winner or a victory. So anyhow, I'm going to turn the floor over to Dave right now. And then we'll open up questions after Dave has his time. And anyhow, my friend, the floor is yours, and I'm glad to see you back.
Okay, thanks, Ed, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be with you again here on Monday night. I've been doing some research lately. Ed and I had a little conversation over the weekend while, in preparation for the show tonight. And I come across an article, some international notice actually put out by Vatican City. And this is fraud in the inducement, by the way, this announcement, because they're claiming a claim that was never, ever established lawfully, legally, or any other way. And it's the subject, blood seals and oath of allegiance to Vatican City, claim that the Universal Catholic Church founded by Christ. Well, in the first place, the Universal Catholic Church was never founded by Christ. And if you ever read the scripture, you will find that the Christ said he would come for his church, not the Holy Roman Catholic Church. His church, meaning the believers in Christ. So the first very sentence of this is pure fraud in the inducement. My blood seal stands on the record of the Vatican Chancery Court in the witness of what I am going to show you tonight. I am from a family that has served the Catholic Church since the First Holy Roman Empire. First of all, Christ never established his church in the Holy Roman Empire. There's your fraud right there, people. Christ did not establish his church of the Holy Roman Empire. If you remember right, he was against Rome. You can't be for something if you're against it. And to assume something that you do not have the authority to assume. If you're coughing, would you please mute out? If you are assuming something that you don't have the authority to assume, you're a con artist. So let's get this thing straight right now. This guy says he has served international service agent as a private attorney in the service of His Holiness Pope Benedict XVI and now Pope Francis. So let me explain something to you. He goes on to say, the rule of law, the canon law of the church. The canon law of the church only applies to the church, not those who are not members of the church. So it is not an international universal law. That is BS. Let's understand it. Let's get it straight. So I want to just clarify that for all of you who believe in the ecclesiastical courts and stuff, because he's claiming the church has the right of claim, and they don't. Never have had. In the mid-1400s, the Holy Roman Catholic Church issued a papal bull stating that any heathen who didn't convert to the Catholic religion was to be killed. It's still on their website, and I'm sorry, people, but if you are forcing people to your cult by death and threat of death, you're a cult, period. So the Holy Roman Catholic Church is a cult organization, and I do not kowtow to courts or to cults. Sorry.
Well, can I add something to that, Dave?
Emotional. Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Well, this is the point that everybody's doing, we're doing talk shows too, but everybody's putting this advice out, and everybody's doing this stuff, going, you need to believe in the Bible. You need to do this. Number one thing is that you have to believe in yourself. That's who you have to believe in first. And remember, the stuff that everybody has learned in the structure we're going through is writing in a book. So when you think about what's going on, most people are arguing about what's in a book instead of what's in their heart. Go ahead, Dave.
So anyway, I had to get that off my chest. Once I read that, I'm going, this is fraud and inducement, it's criminal fraud, it's attempted extortion. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to force all the people of the world under the cult's jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't buy that crap. And no man is going to force me into anything. I do not consent.
Mm-hmm.
And government is with the consent of the who? The men and women. Not the people, the men and women. So let's get it off our chest. Let's clear the record. With the Constitution of the United States, we the people should have read, we the men and women of this nation. We are government number one. Government number two, elected and public servants, legislative, executive, and judicial.
We are actually working on something like that because we would like to have something eventually filed with Trump when he takes his inauguration next month.
And I've already written a letter to Trump outlining the fact that we, the men and women of this nation, are government number one. Government number two is the public and elected public servants of this nation, legislative, executive, and judicial bodies. I've asked for one OMB number for we, the men, women of this nation, to use when conducting official business with our public servants.
And we are definitely working on that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
From the government Office of Management and Budget. So they fully understand that the first branch of government is we, the men and women of this nation. I am not going to sit any longer and allow this corporation crap to continue. If you want to be a corporation, the minute you became that corporation, you gave up your government entity, partner, and that's what the Supreme Court ruled. Once you become a corporation, you are no longer a government. So 28 USC at 3002 definition 15, United States means a federal corporation. You just gave up your government entity. You have no say. You have no jurisdiction over me whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Or anybody else.
Well, I'd like to add to that, Dave. Because, see, the one thing is, this is part of what yesterday sort of blew up, I guess, too, because, I've been going after people to come on the show to prove that House 192 works, because they file all this stuff they're claiming on their sites. You know, they're doing these new driver's licenses and tags, and they're doing all this stuff, claiming this stuff works. Well, I have followed up, and I do know some things work because I've personally done it myself. But I know that there's other things that don't work that people are throwing out there just to get people going down the wrong rabbit hole. So the other point with 192, what me and Dave are working on, we're working on to prove this, and I've got another one that I'm working on dealing with the smart meters to serve the electricity company board members. Because it's like what's going over with the oil structure over in Dakota, which I don't comprehend. Why these men and women, just like what happened with Voy back when I pushed on the issue with continental judges, how come nobody was writing the warrants and filing the criminal charges on these guys? And everybody's going, oh, we got to do it this way, we got to do it that way. You're doing it the same way that your bitching the court system is not working today on. So let's get that cleared. So you want to sit there and say that we're going to do it the same way, but nothing's getting done the same way it's getting done now, and you're going to continue the same thing. Nothing's going to get done. Now, if people unite and start working together on instruments and start filing this and make sure that the public servants start doing their servitude of payment of jobs, putting it in so we can convict these ones who are violating their public servitude and put them in prison. There are judges and public servants, caseworkers that have gone to jail, are going to jail now, and have been filed on and going to jail. So this is the point that we've all got to work on. You know, go ahead, Dave. I wasn't trying to jump and cut you off there, but you know, this is a point that, you know, is putting this together, because like I said yesterday, we had this whole little bombshell that I sent you the info on, and we'll go over that because we'll bring that up next week, because I want to make sure that we have that correctly done so it's not a conflict of interest for us.
Okay, I want to advise the American people that HJR 192 is a resolution, and it applies only to the federal government. Okay, now let's understand what a resolution is. At New Year's Eve, we all make these resolutions, right? So they apply to you. I swear I'm going to quit smoking. I am resolved to lose weight. I resolve. So the resolution is something that applies to you. So HJR 192 was a House joint resolution applying to Congress. However, they made this public law. Chapter 48, 48 Stat 112. It reads exactly the same as HJR 192. But by becoming public law, this now is an obligation under public law, and it does apply to you and I. And the insignificant lawful money in the general circulation to meet the needs of the people, which include you and I, are not there. So what do? They force us into accepting counterfeit money.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Reserve Note. So remember, lawful currency is 12 USC 411, 48 Stat 337. And now you can add Chapter 48 Stat 112 to it to make them responsible for the payment of our debt.
That includes your water, your electricity bill, and that type of stuff. And this is where everybody keeps going off that says, oh, it applies to everybody. We're the world government. No, we are not. It only applies to we the people, the lawful bloodline Americans of this soil. Doesn't apply to the rest of the world or immigration. And all these people that try to tell you that we're supposed to be a democracy and we're supposed to have all this structure because the Bible and the church and God says this. Our forefathers were religious men, but they knew how religion worked because they grew up in England when they came to this country, and they knew that you were beheaded if you didn't follow their religion. Then they came here and they started meeting the natives, and they started looking at life a little differently.
I kind of got cut off, Ed.
Oh, okay.
I don't think somebody liked what I was saying.
Oh, go ahead.
So
I got to get over to my call board because right now I got too many things going on.
So anyway, I hope everybody understands the difference between a resolution, which only applies to them, and the public law applies to us. So they must therefore pay all of our bills through through Chapter 48, 48 Stat 112. So on the back of your checks, endorse it, Chapter 48, 48 Stat 112.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? A qualified endorsement, they have to honor the bank, don't they?
That's a fact.
Public. It is public law. So they can't discharge your debt with the Federal Reserve note. They actually have to pay it in lawful currency. Gold and silver, coin each.
And seeing that they're a de facto corporation, they just write it off on their taxes.
Bingo. Now, let's talk about taxes. Since we now know the 16th Amendment to the Constitution was never ratified. That's the key case that proved that, and you've got to write this down if you don't already know this. It's U.S. versus Lloyd, Lloyde, R. Long, Long. Lloyd R. Long, case number 1-93-91. Federal District Court, Alabama, I forgot, Huntsville, I think it was, but don't quote me on it. But anyway, that's the case number. His attorney was Larry B. Kraft, and the case was in Tennessee. I'm sorry, I think I said Alabama. Larry B. Kraft was from Alabama. The case was in Tennessee. So, anyway, to a federal grand jury, they proved the 16th Amendment was never ratified, and the verdict came in not guilty on all counts. So if we do not have a 16th Amendment, we have no tax law whatsoever. And you can file your 1040X forms, starting with the first day you started paying them, all the way up to the current. And corporations can go all the way back to 1912.
Mm-hmm.
So let's end the fraud. If you shut down the fraud system, you shut down the courts. Who's making the racket in the background? Who's doing what? Mute yourself out. If you're going to make noise, rattle dishes or whatever, mute yourself out.
I just did it.
Sorry, Ed. I didn't realize it was you.
No, it wasn't me. I just muted them out because they just... I'm on the board. I'm learning the board structure.
Oh, great.
Okay. But the one point I want to bring to what you're saying now, everybody's trying to keep you in the tax system. Now, I tell people to go type in theft by deception video. Now, when you keep putting your structures in and everybody tells you to do a 9 form or 4 form or 6 form, all right, they're keeping you in the system. The only ones who are required to that, look at your immigration packages. If you're an immigrant, it says that, oh, you have to do it. Oh, elected and public servants have to do it. Oh, we lawful bloodline, so long as we're not being paid out of what they call public funding, we don't have to apply. It's in the tax code. So this is the point that people need to step out of the movie, watch the productions, and see how it works. Okay, put the information together. Do the research. We bring the information together to you. Do the research on it. Look at it. Okay, but see, you have to do the filings. Now, I don't mind, we don't mind giving the information out. But, when people want to sit there and try to keep other people into the system, and then they're dragging you back and forth, I have, over the last 25 years, I watched so many men and women go through all these programs. I watched men and women shell out thousands of dollars to do these other templates and stuff. Now, I've done my own structure. I've gone after them and written them. I look at what people do, absolutely. But when I write my structure, I write their rules, their administrative structures, what they have to go by. And if they don't follow through their structure, it says that they're supposed to be fired. They can't get a paycheck. They're supposed to be doing this, that, and the other thing. I guess Dave, you just dropped out, I think.
Well, I didn't. I'm here. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. So, but what the bottom line comes down to is that me and Dave are doing the research. We are calling people in the offices, in the structures. We are putting this down, but I myself, I tell people, don't get involved in the tax structure. Because if you want to get involved in it, you become the IOU. You become the debtor. You become that structure. Now, what Dave is doing on the research on the checks, that's what I'm doing myself. I really don't write checks, because most everything, 99% of everything I do, I try to do with cash. Because you have to, like I said, if the dollar falls tomorrow, how are we supposed to survive if we can't buy milk? Food. I mean, these are things, unless you have food on your property growing to survive, this is where it comes in at, folks. Because if we don't do this, we're not protecting one another. And you have to think about this stuff, because if you have your children or if you don't have your children, how are you supposed to protect them when you get them home? And then when you get them home, you got to teach them how to grow food and water. This is a structure. Anyhow, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, those are good points, Ed. But I hope everybody understands the difference now between a resolution and a public law.
Comprehend.
Thank you. So if the public law pertains to you and I, Congress must apply it. So therefore, all our bills, our public debts, house mortgages, college student loans, all this stuff is covered under public law. What did I say it was? 48 stat. I turned the page here. I got to go back.
I was going to... well, you got that one.
Okay. Chapter 48 stat 112. It's all covered there. They owe us the payments. Now, what I have not been able to find out yet is exactly where they're saying use Form 1099 OID. But again, I think you'll find that as an Internal Revenue Code publication, an IRS publication. And Ed and I just got through saying you don't want to go into their system. So if we write our checks and endorse them on the back with the code, Chapter 48, 48 stat period, STAT period, 112, That's a qualified endorsement. They have to pay it in lawful currency.
Mm-hmm.
May I?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how are you guys doing today?
Doing wonderful.
Great, great. Now, I actually did a 4848 Stat 112 payment on my house mortgage.
Okay.
I did all the paperwork, and I sent it to the Internal Revenue, and I sent it to the mortgage company. The mortgage company sent me paperwork saying everything was paid off, blah, 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 blah. Then a year later, they turned around and tried to foreclose on me. So they actually stole the check, I guess, or they didn't close it out on the private side like they were supposed to. And when I sent some information to the IRS, they sent me a letter saying that I was, how did they put it? I was making a claim on the United States, and that if I continue to make these claims, they may take me to court.
I'm
So
sorry.
they actually, yes, that's the language.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted you.
Oh, it's okay. Yes, they actually threatened me. So they actually are not honoring the 4840 Stat 112. Now, I've known a couple of people that said that they have theirs honored, but I never actually saw any actual paperwork to verify. Now, they showed me letters, but I myself received the same letter, and it was never actually done. So what recourse would you take in that event?
Well, first thing, you want to go in and you want to get a copy of Chapter 48 Stat 112. That is
okay, I do have a copy of that.
Okay. Then you want to make sure you email that or fax it to them and say, hey, this is public law. I do not consent to your gibberish. This is public law, United States Code. I do not consent to your. You see, the IRS, the IMF, or a division of the IMF, they're unregistered foreign agents. They don't dare use code against us. They don't dare use law against us.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other point, too, I'd like to add on that, don't forget Executive Order 2040 put the birth certificate bond March 9th, 1933 at $630,000. That complies with the debt of World War I that's supposed to go to we the people. That's why they did the birth certificate bond like that compared to what everybody keeps going by the 14th Amendment of the Civil War. The 14th Amendment was to determine who was lawful and who was legal, and that was on the Supreme Court in 1884, and I put that out, stating you can be born here, but does not mean you're an inhabitant.
What they're trying to say to you is that HJR 192 was repealed. No, it wasn't repealed. It was transferred over to public law.
Mm-hmm.
The two read the same. So it's Chapter 48 Stat 112.
But anyhow, Dave, I want to add to like what the woman is bringing to the point. All right, she's trying to figure out her next move right now. Am I getting that correct?
Yes.
All right. Write a letter to your representatives in Congress and the House and Senate Judiciary Committees and remind them of Chapter 48 Stat 112 stating that this is now public law, your obligation to pay.
And why aren't you honoring your words to the bloodline of this country that you took an oath to defend?
You want to make sure you copy or send a copy of that to the IRS and the IMF.
Okay.
And the other one is to the director of the Department of Treasury. Because everybody goes, oh, we need to kill the IRS. Well, the IRS, how do you expect to have your funding set up for your next generations if elected and public servants and immigrants are not paying into that system that keeps the system rotating? Because the point is that we all have to realize one major factor. Let's say everything shuts down tomorrow. Within less than a year, all the food resources on the planet in the United States will be eaten in less than a year. Because we got 300 million people. Do you think we have that many deer and elk and buffalo? And, well, we got some of the horses. They're already sending the Mustangs in Nevada to Mexico for glue, which those horses should be still free for anybody. You know, and that's the point of responsibility. You take a horse from Nevada or somewhere else that, you know, we have a right to our animals. I'm not saying horse thief or anything like that, but this stuff in Nevada and stuff, we have free access to a lot of stuff that we don't realize. We don't use, but the other point is that we don't maintain our food resources in the other side of this, including likely with the IRS, because if they fold tomorrow, those people are going to be unemployed, so they have no way to feed themselves. So when they go to the park and they eat all the pigeons that are flying around the park, you know, I mean, we've got to step out and start being realistic and looking at how the truth is going to survive in this structure. Everybody can live and wish in the tunnel of fairyland, but we're living in reality because we're getting to the point where next year we're going to see some uprising going because the Democrats didn't like it because they couldn't take back the country. Democracy and the Democrats are the British government. And if you look at Hillary and the Clinton Foundation, they're all registered attorneys. They're all registered with the Queen of England. You know, and you can't have both. You can't have a democracy and a republic. We've seen the end of that tale right now, what happened in the election. We watched that when everything was booming in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Then the 90s come along, and we go through these, what they call housing bubble. We went through this. We went through that. We went through it because they kept on raising inflation, and everybody goes, oh, well, we don't speak against the government, so we just step out, and we just have to pay it, so we just raise our fees. Well, everybody raised their fees, and now they put themselves out of employment, especially when everybody's going for $15 an hour. Oh, I need $15 an hour minimum wage. You know something? When I grew up, I never worked for minimum wage. I always hired myself out and contracted myself for a better wage. There was a couple of jobs I did start at minimum wage, but within 2 weeks to a month, I was well above the other ones because I was able to prove my production. Go ahead.
The minimum wage law is a fraud upon the American people. They need a living wage, not a wage. So we need to write our dear beloved public officials and instruct them that from this day forward, we will not accept anything other than a living wage.
Well, and the other point is that... Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
We consent to a living wage, not a minimum wage. Are you living on a minimum wage, Mr. Congressman? Mr. Senator? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
What gives you the right to charge us your salary, which you voted for, not we the people, the men and women of this nation? Why don't you cut your salary down to what you suppose a minimum wage is, a livable wage? And you do that for 5 years, and let's see how you stand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a retirement system, then you put Social Security under your system, and we'll all benefit. Same with your salary. If you can charge us $175,000 a year, then we all want $175,000 a year.
Mm-hmm. And that includes getting back Social Security back from the Queen of England and file treasons on the Clintons for doing what they did, giving it over to the Queen of England.
Exactly right. That's embezzlement of public funds, by the way, people. And I just asked Trump to convene a federal grand jury to investigate the Democratic Party for high treason by claiming a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent a copy of it to the Attorney General's office. It's on my Facebook wall. It's all over it.
Yeah, that's the point. It is getting it out.
Let's understand this. This is now public notice because it's on Facebook. Mr. Trump has been notified.
Mm-hmm.
We will form a federal grand jury to investigate the Democratic Party for high treason.
And if you people want to see this stuff happening, you need to endorse this stuff. Quit talking about it. All I hear is talk from people. I have seen no proof from any of these so-called grand juries that have been formed. No proof. You know, and then the other point that I didn't get into, because everybody wanted me to comment on Ronnie Davis. Why would we want to comment on Ronnie Davis? I mean, he put himself in a position or whatever he did. You know, there's a lot of things that don't meet the eye with what's being said. What is the truth? So, you know, either you're going to talk truth or you're not. And that's the point that I just went through yesterday with some stuff that really was frustrating because people are going off on little tangents, you know, without knowing what's going on. And I get involved in in a whole conflict with so-called Continental Marshal. That is interesting because I didn't even get involved and say anything, and next thing you know, I'm being attacked for being put in the middle of somebody's controlled game because, you know, some of the other stuff we're speaking out is true, and we don't want to see people end up in jail over stupidity. We want to see them educated, and those who are actually doing it, bring it back, prove it, let's do it. You know, like I said earlier, I've talked to a lot of these people that says they write this stuff off like the lady was saying, and that's the one thing. We need to figure out what's going on with her case on this. How do we solve this? Now, this is a case that is not just for her, it's for everybody, and you included. See, you guys got to start to realize that it's supposed to be we, the people, not me. Not myself, not I. So anyhow, ma'am, the other point is that you had a question going back because what was your last communication you had?
Oh, the last communication I had was the letter I told you about.
Okay.
The threatening letter saying that they may take me to court.
Right, and so they're trying to say that they want to take you to court. Because the instrument that they're claiming that you filed, did they grant it the first time?
Yes, they did.
All right. And so this is the point that needs to go back going, I have no knowledge of what you're trying to kidnap, threaten my life, my safety, and my health, when here's the evidence you've already done it this way. And see, that needs to go to the board members of the IRS.
Okay.
Everybody has board members.
True.
They are the liable men and women of their own personal assets. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
All right. So it has to be put together that you're holding them personally liable for your detriment because their employees followed the administrative rules to do this correctly. Some other administrator is not doing it correctly. And so why are you creating havoc, emotional stress, damage to we the people and our neighbors by doing this? I mean, I'm still battling Social Security right now myself, you know, battling with them for my payments because they say I was overpaid because I got reimbursed for transportation and medical that was out of my own pocket, and they're claiming that's income.
Oh,
there's no income.
And by the way, Ed, I just received a confirmation from the Federal Trade Commission on my case against the Internal Revenue Service for due process violations. And I'll give this claim number out to you here publicly so that it's addressed on the air. My case number is 0104-0658. And that's with the Federal Trade Commission on identity theft and due process violations.
Mm-hmm.
And that is against the Internal Revenue Service and the IMF.
Right, and that's the other thing, ma'am, too, that you need to put in for identity theft, because when they sat there and used your control number to another agency, that's identity theft.
Right, correct.
This is also charging them with misuse of my Social Security number without my knowledge and permission, in violation of, 41?
That's 32 U.S. 408, Section A.
Yes, thank you. So I've got them on 3 charges now with the Federal Trade Commission. They said they would take about 10 days to get back to me. But they had received it and they assigned the case number.
Mm-hmm.
So you did get places when you file with the right agencies. Now,
Thank you.
My next step will be to copy all of this communication to the Secretary of Treasury.
Okay.
And since we are under martial law, it will also go to the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Okay.
Because the gold-fringed American flag falls under military regulation, and that's under Dwight David Eisenhower's Executive Order 10834, which Ed and I already have published documents on. The fact that, if we are indeed under martial law, the Congress is not in control of the government, the President is not in control of the government, the Joint Chiefs of Staff are in charge of the government.
Okay, thank you. That's excellent.
Go ahead.
Well, I think the whole point of the letter was to intimidate me, because they did mention in the letter they may take me to court, and if I file anything else, or tell someone else how to file it.
Well, understand, if they take you to court, you can file a counter complaint. And with your documentation, you can put that in as evidence against them. Go ahead.
It's soft martial law. It's if it was like full out all martial law, they would be standing in the streets. So I just want to put that out there submitted for approval, not yet.
Well, what they're doing is, it's called color of law fraud. They're flying a gold fringe flag everywhere. Okay, that unless the gold fringe is around all 4 sides, which indicates war flag. If it's on 3 sides, it's martial law, and I'm sorry, the military is still in charge. It falls under military regulations.
That's fine. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's why whenever you have a document that is fraud on their part, you need to submit it to the Joint Chiefs, because number one, they have the authority to turn it over to JAG Corps. And JAG Corps is the prosecution.
Okay.
And I might also add, if the Joint Chiefs fail to turn this over or follow up on it, that's high treason against their oath of office, and it falls under, I think it's 18 USC 1001.
Well, you know, when I went to court, the judge struck everything because I had all of my documentation in order. I had all, the copies of everything. So she struck everything. So, really.
Did you object?
I'm sorry.
Did you object?
Yes, I did object.
Okay.
But it did no good. They struck everything, and I haven't heard from any.
You broke
We
up.
lose you?
Go ahead.
I wonder if we lost her.
Start over. Oh, we lost her?
I think we might have just lost her. I'm trying to see where she's at on the board.
I hope she calls back in.
Okay, because I'm still learning this structure. Neither do I.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Maybe I hit something.
No,
But no, I was saying
wait. If I may, real quick, that's not a coincidence. That is a telecommunication anomaly that has happened to me before. All of a sudden, my phone will actually hit *6 on its own.
Okay.
I yelled.
Okay. Go ahead, ma'am. The floor is yours again.
Okay, I was saying the judge struck everything, and I did object to no avail because what they did after she struck everything, they told me they were going to file, what did they call it? Something where they can, come in and take everything, but they didn't. And then I got
you
another
didn't
letter.
file anything back at that point.
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I did file something back. But they ignored, they struck that. She struck everything. So when I went back to court, she struck that too. So what happened is she struck it, and she said they were going to foreclose, but they never did. And then the next thing I know, I got another letter from another law firm, a whole different attorney. A new set of attorneys made an appearance about 3 months ago, and I sent them a letter, and I never heard back from them. I never heard anything after that.
That's interesting. Well, you need to get something in court to claim your land. You need to go into public records of the building of the county you're in and ask them for the homesteader's claim.
Okay.
And type
That's
that.
for the homesteader's claim.
You'll read it, but you got to find out too your state homesteader act.
Okay.
Because see, you write your claim, you claim your land. You need to read the act and how it reads to claim your land.
So that last thing was the Homestead Claim Act?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Homestead claim, yes.
Okay.
And see, each county has got theirs written by the state structure.
Right. Okay, I could do that.
I mean, this is a frustrating paper game that we're playing with the system, but remember, they created this to create jobs, so they're creating jobs, and this is what they're creating the headaches, and they're creating the slavery because of the headaches. That makes crazy sense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And a lot of these people know this stuff. That's why I suggest that people step out of the movie, watch the production, see what the players are, see what they're doing, analyze them. It's just like we went through, some of that yesterday, which I was sort of stunned myself with, all of a sudden all this blown out attack because the other point too is what happened with Dixie and all this stuff. All right, I'm being attacked by Tim, and I said, "Oh well." Me and Dave looked at his private attorney general site department. So he's part of a private attorney department of a government agency, and they're claiming Moors and Muslims on that, and so we responded to it. What, telling the truth? Because the Muslims are not welcomed in our country. That goes back to Thomas Jefferson. And everybody goes, oh, it's freedom of religion. Freedom of religion is on this soil when you're born here, when you're 5 or more generations. You don't come to this country and bring your country into our country and want us to change to your belief. You have to go by the Constitution and the way our forefathers wrote it. You can be independent as you want, but that's right. You have freedom, but your freedom doesn't extend to go out to the Capitol and buy your way to have your religion or your structure taught in our schools or anything. It doesn't work that way. And it's time for men to be men and women to be women again. There's very few of that in reality.
You know, Ed, there's one thing I'd like to bring back up against the martial law. I want you people to think about this very, very seriously. If under martial law the Constitution is suspended, what does that do to the Constitution in general? The government constitutionally established the men and women of this nation as the government. Okay? So if we in the Constitution establish legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government, does that not also terminate them? Therefore, we have no president, we have no Congress, we have no judiciary.
And men are supposed to take care of their home.
Exactly. Legal maxim is, when the laws of man will not prevail, the law of nature must.
Mm-hmm.
So guess where that puts us? Each man for himself. That means that not even the military have any authority over you and I.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to play martial law, you better understand what it means.
Well, so too, look at the real history of the marshals and what they really were founded for and what their structure really became. Because they're technically the only law enforcement agency on this soil. CIA, FBI, and all that was created in the 1900s or 2000s. I don't get this point because we should be in the 21st century, not the 20th century, or the 20th century, I mean, not the 21st century, because it's 20, not 21. You know, I know people that, you know, say, oh, well, history started from one to go the other direction. Well, I mean, if it's really true, it should be one day at a time, and that means every day is counted, not a leap year, or a leap century, I should say. You know, I mean, it's like, come on, how are we supposed to be programmed? This is like, what was that other one that they were trying to do? The science deal. Oh, brain fart. I'll think about it here in a second. But, I mean, it's like, you know, the evidence is here. If you want to go back and forth and keep playing the game of the rotation, I want out of the game. I am pretty much out of the game to the best of my knowledge. And every time people have tried to attack me and stuff, I'm still here. Okay? And the point being is I have a right. I know my rights. I don't sit there and open up my home to everyone. That's why everybody says, oh, we need to do immigration. You open your home. My attitude is if you want immigration, you pay for their food, you pay for the water, you pay for the electricity, and you pay for them to live with you.
Yeah, not our damn Social Security.
And what?
What did you say? I said, yeah, not our damn Social Security.
They've got background with his brother.
Well,
so
I'm sorry, I should have muted out. The immigration problem I've already solved for Mr. Trump.
How did you do that, out of curiosity?
Actually, what we do is we go in, we round up all the illegal immigrants, and we assign them a animal number, and then we make out a bill of lading, and we ship them back to the country of origin, FOB destination. That way their government pays for the shipping costs back to them as a damaged animal.
And we can charge for the vet bill, too.
That's right. And then we true bill and invoice them for the costs. No more do we, the people, pay the cost of rounding them up and shipping them back. Plus all this other stuff. That's a very simple plan. Congress made it. What was the animal law? We're all animals, Chapter 7, Subchapter 6.
No, well, that is Title 7, 136, Section C.
Thank you. And so man's an animal. So, gee, is our Social Security number our stock number?
Technically it is.
So if we are, if all the, evidently they must, once they're arrested, we assign them the number. They're freight. They're a commodity. To ship them back to their country of origin at their expense.
Right. So, and that's the one thing that I did find very interesting, you know, because when he decided to come out and say that, Trent Gowdy said that, oh, we'll just start sending all foreign nationals home. Well, you know, this is the point. Everybody, see, I own myself. You know, I own me. I own my birth certificate structure. I filed my UCC, and I've got people saying, oh, let me see how you did your UCC, Ed. I've told you how I did my UCC. I filed it. I own it. Okay, I publicized in the newspaper. I own me in that information.
Well, you know,
anybody who's... Go ahead.
You know, Rod Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, is setting up Chicago as a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants. That's a violation. That's a violation of the oath of office. To support.
And where are the people standing up for this?
That's high treason. People need to file high treason charges against the mayor of Chicago.
Right.
And any other state that tries to pull this crap.
Well, you know, the one thing that gets to me, Dave, all these men and women say, we want to stand up, but then when it comes to standing up, they don't want the responsibility, because if they screw up, they don't know how to take the liability of what they did to not only make even apology, but amends.
Well, they better get off the Sunday night or the Sunday afternoon football game, get on the computer and start educating themselves.
You know, football, baseball, computer games. Yeah, where are the people living?
Soap operas are all this. All that stuff's designed to keep your mind out of reality and learning. If you're hooked on it and you're lazy, hey, I'm sorry, it's you know, dummied down. You can be dummied down all you want, but educating yourself is your responsibility. So if you're not going to, by the way, the 16th American jurisprudence says it's our right as citizens to defend this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So that's your responsibility, people. Plain
I got a couple things to add here, Dave.
Go ahead.
All right, I want to get back to the situation with this lady with her issue.
Okay.
Because seeing that now it's time that we can start doing these solutions, start batting these around and getting this done. Okay? Now, we have an idea what you're thinking that what you're going to do. You have an idea what you're going to respond to because you want to make sure it's record. You do not want a time lapse without record in it, if that makes sense.
Make this in the form of an affidavit.
Okay.
Okay. There's 5.
You know what an affidavit really means.
Yeah, there's 5 things in an affidavit, and you need to point out each one of those 5.
Yes, I'm familiar with doing affidavits.
We did a template for an affidavit online or on our webpage.
Oh, okay. Which website is it? Just the Go, or is it the tax law?
New Oregon Crackers in the net.
Well, we don't have it on the deal. Are you on Facebook, ma'am?
I can get on Facebook.
Okay. Are you on my friends list by any chance?
I think I am on your friends list.
Okay, double check to see if you're on next. Our templates are in the United States for America, Republic, elected and public servants oversights. And then the others are some templates on the Civil Rights 1866, lawful bloodline Americans.
Okay.
Okay, because see, the one thing is this is where people have to realize that we've been in this country, when you realistically think about it, all different race and religions have been on this soil for the last 500 years. Okay? So we've all been here. Our race, our bloodline, our structure from our heritage is on this soil, even though in the beginning it came from Timbuktu. But we are not a country of immigrants. We're a country that are people who invaded and terrorized this country. We can't say we're immigrants because some of our family came here, raped, robbed, and murdered.
Right.
Some of our family didn't. So we have to talk in realistics of our heritage, not what Democrats and these democracy people are saying, because, we do have a president that claims that he was born here when he's not even an American. He's a Kenyan foreign subject. And even in his birth certificate, which I find hilarious, they call him, African American, and that terminology wasn't used until 1980.
And African American is not a nationality.
I know.
Well, now think about this, too. He applied for student loans as a foreign national.
Mm-hmm.
So if he did that, that's a criminal act. That's a fraud.
Now, let me ask you a question regarding foreign national.
Yes.
Now, some of the stuff that I've read, when they say foreign national, they're saying that you're foreign to the United States corporation, not foreign to this country. You were born here, but you're a foreign national to the U.S. Corp.
Well, that depends, because if your family's been here more than 5 generations, you are native. You are not a corporation under immigration standards of being born here 1, 2, or 3, or 4 generations.
Okay.
Okay? Because there is a lawful and legal difference. People want to argue that because they know that their bloodline is only 2 or 3 generations. So they're trying to defend it. So if their family did come in here immigrationally illegally, they're concerned about getting shipped out of the country for something that they presume they didn't do. But that's the responsibility of their elders that gave them the responsibility to protect them, that they didn't do themselves because they didn't want to learn because they were too busy watching TV and video games. If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so, and we had this opportunity growing up. I mean, this stuff wasn't just plopped out on the floor. Most people didn't want to pay attention to the circumstances. They wanted to play their games in their TV structure, and they didn't want to be involved to protect themselves. Now reality is hitting everybody in the face in the country, and everybody's panicking because they thought it was just one big party that all of a sudden reality hit, and they're realizing the party's over.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you send all these buy gold commercials on TV. I mean, every other commercial is about the $20 trillion deficit, and they're trying to get you to buy gold and silver because they know the economy is going to implode.
Well, they know the other point is that the gold and silver is still negotiated through the paper bonds. That's part of your birth certificate. Your new birth certificates they issue today has a gold standard with, a VIN number on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so this stuff is already happening. I'm not a commodity. I'm a living, breathing man, and I know my family been over on this soil for well over 200 years. Okay? And people say, well, that you can't prove. I can prove it. I actually have photographs of my relatives in 1840 in San Francisco. And I know part of the history of when my family came to this country, and the other side of my family was in this country, because basically it turned out we were half-breeds,
Yes.
Okay, but see, this is the point where everybody keeps going, it's racism or it's a color issue. It's like anybody who knows racism is religion. Because if you're racist, you don't believe in another man's religion to give him his right under his constitutional rights, because that's racism. But the racism comes out where they try to get us is to fight and argue. You're allowed to have your religious belief, but it doesn't mean that you have the right to put it out on TV and radio and shove it down the rest of people's throat who don't want to hear it. I mean, how simple is that? Go ahead.
Which they're doing. All these Sunday morning programs, those are all religious programs, and they're putting them out on the air to force it down your throat.
Mm-hmm. To give you mental and psychologically guilt patterns. Think about that one. If you didn't have emotions and feelings, you couldn't feel it.
That's true.
It's like going to a movie when you're going to a chick flick, and it affects a chick, but it doesn't always affect the man. And then women ask men, why don't you have this emotion? Why didn't you have that feeling because of that? It was in a movie. You can't relate it. That's, we're talking real compared to fantasy. Most men are logical. They cannot sit there and put their emotions on a fingertip or outside. And that's the point that we get accused a lot of that one, that we should be more feeling or more this. Well, that's men were not designed when it comes down to a lot of that the way it is. And most of you know it. We all know it.
Yeah, that's
true.
But
we try to do this. Go ahead.
No, I was saying what you're saying is true. Somebody even wrote a book about it. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you all remember. You remember that book when it came out?
Oh, I heard about it. I never read it, but yeah.
Yeah, and basically it's about the differences between men and women.
And that's the point. Men have to realize the difference of a woman is emotional and stuff. And some men, don't have that emotional string or tied to it.
That's true.
So, and this is the point. It's not being negative. That's the point. We're not being negative to this structure. Okay, but see, the point is we've got to work with each other.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
So that's like what you're going through. Okay, we could bounce some things around. You got some ideas which you need to look at to do it, and then we have some other banking structures that I have on my Facebook site with the bank stuff that you could actually quote to them with mortgages and stuff that they're going to think you don't have. Do you have the bank manual too that you can read? That the bank manual of 1820, what is that, 1829? I think I have, and the other one I can't remember the other year. But see, I have this stuff up on our sites, the bank manuals and stuff, so people can read this. So this way they can see what the corporation did. Then you look on the stuff that we're supposed to have on 192, our rights, and these are the things that we have to figure out. These are the things that we have to put in place, so this way the lawful Americans are protected versus the immigrations and legal citizens. And if you want to claim yourself a legal citizen, that is your right. I don't go by choice, because choice was a word that didn't come in until the 1990s. Prior to that, men and women used to call men and women. They didn't call themselves persons. Persons were only known in TV.
I don't use persons.
You know. But if you know history, persons came out in TV.
Right.
You know, so we get talked into to think and trade different ways that we're being taught to think. I mean, I remember when I went to school in the 60s, they were trying to force me to write right-handed when I write left-handed. And I have fun with that because I think with the right side of my brain because I'm right. You know, you got to have some fun with some of that in life, too.
True.
You know? And the one thing I can truly say, I was born in the barn. I was born in the stables. And I had fun with that one growing up. Trust me. Believe me. That was too much fun with that one growing up. You know, but I mean, you know, it is one of those things that you just look at and you can have fun at. You know, but see, the one thing about life is we're supposed to be living it, not fighting amongst each other. We've already had these wars. And the point is like, you know, everybody still wants to be fighting over the South and North. We've already done that through the Civil War. We already put it in congressional records when they rewrote the Constitution for the government employee. That is the British government. Instead of us killing and raping and robbing and murdering each other, well, we, the Indians and our forefathers in the foreign countries, sat down and said, okay, here's the law. Here's the employment structure. That was the first structure of the banks, realistically, in this country. Because prior to
the problem with that is that they don't follow their own laws.
Right, but see, the problem, it's our responsibility to start filing on these men and women, to start forcing them to follow their law, and this is where we can file and dismantle their budget. I mean, there are states right now who have voted in which I've done recalls and I have done voting structures myself, which I'm getting ready as soon as I get my other case filed. I plan on filing in my county to put our local court system for a public vote for the jail, because the jail got voted in 1992. Prior to that in my county, we never had a jail. And the only thing and this was only in 1992. Prior to that, you didn't get arrested for not paying property taxes. Prior to that, you didn't get arrested for traveling or hunting and fishing without a prescribed license. I lived it. I'm known for this. Okay? And so because of this is 1992 is when we ended up with a courthouse doing this in Oregon. Now, they had it in the big cities, but the little rural counties, we never had court systems in the counties primarily. So, you know, this is the point that people don't know real history. They don't know what's transpired of what a county, what a state has done. They assume this stuff is on TV. Believe me, I used to love watching, Perry Mason and stuff like this. You know, Hawaii 5-0, that was one of my grandparents beside Hee Haw. You know, I mean, and you look at the way these people were indoctrinized and talked to on TV. I mean, growing up, I remember when TV in the 70s used to show nudity on TV and nobody gave a darn. You know, nobody cared, and all of a sudden it became an issue.
Look, I remember when you didn't even see a couple in bed together. Lucy and Desi had twin beds. Laura and Rob Patry, the Flintstones. Nobody slept together, and I think the Flintstones were the first couple that they put in bed together.
Not sure. Not sure on that one.
Yeah, it was the Flintstones. They used the cartoon.
You know, but see, we're all living this.
Yeah, we are.
You know, so I mean, and this is the point. You know, it's like these other people want to start running and using lawful Americans on their structure that me and Dave already have it in our filing, and I've had it filed since 1999 in two of my Senate bills. I mean, you know, the thing is, yes, I actually had bills in the House and Senate with my name on them. Okay? And, you know, not everybody gets that opportunity. You know, I mean, I've been fighting for traveling rights and hunting rights, and I've proven it. And they keep passing administrative law in my state, and so instead of, they just come after me with guns and different techniques trying to keep my mouth shut. Well, that's my problem.
Well, my brother actually drove around with no license for 30 years.
Yeah. So that's the point, see? And the point is that when people are doing this, we need to stand by each other. You know, I mean, the other point is we can stand by on your affidavit as witnesses to your affidavit, because if we read and believe your words, we sign that, we take liability for you on that affidavit. See, this is where Americans got to be Americans and standing up with one another instead of just being what they're talking about.
And then, you know, it's funny that you said it, because I just read that today, that most people, that their court papers are not accepted because they don't have anyone to back up what they're saying. They don't have witnesses.
That 80% of the cases are dismissed on that alone. That is a fact.
Right, and I just read that.
Witnesses,
no witnesses.
They don't have remedy.
Right, there you go. Uh-huh.
That's what 4848 Stat 112 is about, remedy.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, I mean, believe me, I've dealt with other guys that claim they're attorneys or private attorney generals for a couple decades. I have gone after them. They tell me, I've won this case. They threw that case out. So big deal. I've done the same thing. I don't win cases or have them thrown out. You know, I mean, for 15 years, I've walked people through how to do their paperwork, and that's up to them. And I've had people that filed their paperwork and their cases were thrown out. I've had people that showed up to court, and the judge would ask them, who are you and why are you here? You know, and I've had people that didn't know how to keep their mouths shut who put themselves into the system by opening their mouth to put themselves back in the system. You know, so life is a learning experience, and this is what we're supposed to be learning from one another, not sitting there trying to go after tit for tat. You know, it's like last night I'm being told if I see something on this other internet site, you know, then let them know. Well, excuse me, I'm not going to sit there and waste my life tracking, you know, the work that whatever you're doing. If I do find something, I'm just going to hit it through the lawful system. I don't have time for games. Life is too short. I live life. I don't have time to waste life. You know? And when it really comes down to it, none of us do, because we're actually living life. You know, and we can look at how many times we actually felt that we wasted some of our life doing stupid stuff. You know, it makes sense?
Yes, that's true.
You know, so this is the
we all would turn back the hands of time and change some things if we could.
But the only way it's going to get changed is by we the people, by us.
True, that's true.
I mean, when I recalled the entire Lincoln County School Board, I was able to prove $30 million embezzled. I filed a 10% retainer on that money. Because when you go to the government and you find waste, and you can prove waste, you're entitled 10% tax-free to your pocketbook right off the bat. So I filed my 10% retainer on it. And then when I did this was all in the News Times and the Oregonian newspaper and some of the other big state papers. And I proved it. Well, then the state came after me, trying to prove fraud on me and some other criminal charges. That didn't work because they couldn't do it. They were just reaching for the stars because I hit a vein, and what they did is I was able to prove the other part because the local school committees had the lawful authority to get the budget. The school board budget committees and the school board were not allowed to. But on the West Coast, the local school committees had the lawful authority over the school district and administration. When I recalled the school board, everybody panicked over that one because when they tried to go after me, I proved it by the law and administrative rules. Then 2003, Kate Brown, the governor, and others were the ones who moved on that real quick to get that administrative rule that was actually voted in by Oregon State. The public itself voted it in 1972 to keep a check and a balance on the system. So they went and passed an administrative levy that went against the voters. You know, and I haven't had a chance to get back to that, and I've got the evidence. Believe me, I had so much paperwork because the state of Oregon would literally throw historical instruments in the garbage, going all the way back to the 1800s. So I used to pick up a lot of this stuff, and I'll collect it. Why waste a historical instrument? It's ours. And so then all of a sudden, my house got robbed a few times by the cops. All that's on record, been in the newspaper. I call them up because my house was robbed by the cops. They kidnapped me, tried to charge me they charged me for calling 911 when my house was robbed by the cops. And then they actually admitted to that a couple years later in another court case. So, you know, I know the way the devil people work. You know, and that's people that are claiming that they're elected and public servants. That's people that, you know, no offense to some that are claiming that they're religious or even religion, you know, ministers. A lot of ministers know that they're doing this fraud and deceit on people. They know it, but they wouldn't have a job if they told the people the truth. They wouldn't have the income. You know, I mean, this is where people you got to realize that we are living the movie Matrix.
Yes, we are.
Because everything that's in front of you is a maze.
Right. And, you know, speaking of churches, if you go on, what's the website, you look up companies. I can't remember the name of it, but they'll tell you how much each church makes every year. Some of these churches are making $11, $12, $14 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a business.
I've seen ministers go out to their congregation and said, God told you to buy me a jet, and they buy them a jet. Yep.
Yeah, that's insane. I'll buy you a jet if you buy me one. Okay. That's crazy. But you're right. People are vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
That's how all those people got killed out there with Jim Jones, because some people just follow. They don't have it in them to think and lead.
Right.
So they take advantage of the people who are weak and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. But this is the structure we're living.
Yeah, it is.
And see, the thing is that we can't go after and blaming one another. Okay? The point is how we're going to solve the issues.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that totally.
Well, this is what I've been saying. Well, Dave and I have had our workup on Facebook for 2 years now.
Okay.
All right. And I'm talking the ones that we've got on Congress filed, the ones we filed with Judge Scalia on lawful and legal difference. And all people want to do is argue with me about immigration. I said, did you ever read what we filed? Well, you don't have a right to file that, and you can't do that, and who gives you the right to say that? If you don't like our country, get the hell out of it, because that's what the law says it is. The Constitution says this.
First of all, you do have the right. They have the right, whoever. We all have the right to do whatever we want to do. So nobody should be telling you don't have the right to file anything because you do.
Oh, yes, we do have the right to tell people they don't have a right to come to this country.
No, you do. And even if they disagree with it, it's still your right. They can't take your rights away.
You know? Well, if you come into this country and you invaded it, you're not entitled to rights.
Right, absolutely. Speaking of rights, I have another question for you. I have a friend that's in prison, and when I send him mail, sometimes they don't give it to him because I send him case law and stuff like that to try to help him with his case, and they don't give him the information.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk to him on the telephone,
that information with the prison board.
Okay. But see what it is, they have an attorney that goes through all of the stuff that that's being sent to the prisoners, and then he'll take out or he won't give it to them at all. So first I
you go to the board and make sure the board presents it to them, because if the board ain't being responsible for the prisoners of the board that they're taking an oath to.
Okay.
Humiliation works wonders in those type of positions so long as you do it correctly.
Okay, so now I know they have a form that you can file a complaint on.
No, you read their form, you write your own affidavit, you write your own form from their form, because if you turn their form in, that's giving them the authority.
Okay.
You go in with your form, now you got your form stamped with their stamp on it, and that's your form, so now that's an instrument, that's not a document, so they can have if they want to dock it or ship it out.
Okay. I got you.
You know,
but it is illegal for them not to give the mail to him, right?
Right, yeah. Okay, but it's like everybody goes, I want to file a motion. I don't file motions because a motion is a wave. The wave goes up and down, and I can decide where that boat's going to go.
Right, okay. I like that. The wave goes up and down.
You know, so I want to be able to say, I'm not doing a motion. I'm not going to motion to plead to this man. Remember, motions went back to the Vatican days in the 1300s. You had a motion to the preacher before you got heard. You know, I mean, all this is religion. Going back thousands of years, this is all religion. Doesn't matter what religion you believe, because remember, all religion is basically taught 100% the same of their belief, but a different concept. One believes in one type of God, the other one believes in another type of a God, or a Buddha, or, you know what, a ship.
Yeah, I understand.
Somebody believes in a tree.
Right.
Okay? And that's the point, is not getting into the point of people's religious beliefs, because it disturbs me. I don't mind doing a before and after prayer on talk shows. You know, I really don't have an issue with that, you know, but I have an issue about talking about religion during it. You know, because I don't want to hear about the Baptists. I don't want to hear about the Roman Catholic. I grew up Roman Catholic. I grew up with the bishops. I grew up with the free religions and the hippie churches and stuff. You know, I lived it. Why do I want to keep reliving that something was so boring? You know, life is happy. You get out in the woods. You go to the beach. You're on the river. You're seeing and feeling life. You're not reading. You're not watching it on TV. You're living life. I mean, I grew up in the Bay Area where even in California, people were still going camping, just basic camping, off the roads and highways. You know, even on private property. You pull off on somebody's property, so long as that you didn't go stomping through their pasture and you were just on the corner of the road camping, nobody gave a shit. Then all of a sudden it got to the point where everybody starts getting all this paranoia structure, and then all of a sudden it came to the point in the 2000s where, you know, all the fast food restaurants and everybody started charging for napkins and condiments. You know, England does that because Americans used to write it off in their basic sale of their production was in the production price of it. So it was already there. And now that they did it and the way they started charging it, they didn't deduct that out of the price. I mean, I ran restaurants. My food bills were always kept at 32 cents on the dollar. Some restaurants can't keep them like that. They're running at 45 cents on the dollar or something. You know, it is stepping out, learning how all the production works in what industry that you're working with. You know, and we are working in industries. You know, it depends on how we're going to control the industry. So, and then you have that letter stating that they said that what you turned in was acceptable. Then they're writing back from another man or woman that is claiming it wasn't because of what they read, and so they're trying to change their contract.
Right, absolutely.
So that's where you're returning back going, I have no idea. This is a matter that was settled. And seeing that you want to go forward, I need your VIN number. I need your ID. I need your reinsurance number. I need proof to know where you're doing so I know your bond. I need your bond information. Because now you're invading my life and you're threatening my life with identity theft and terrorist activity. So I need your information so I can protect myself. So if something does happen, liability to my safety, you're liable. Interesting way of doing it, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, but see, we start doing this. It's like I've got one written up on the hospital. Me and Dave wrote up. Dave went through mine when I wrote up on hospital. I served them, vesicles 5 or 6 months, 7 months ago.
For identity theft?
And say that again?
You filed papers on them for identity theft?
Oh, with the hospital as well.
Okay.
Well, because they're saying...
Let me ask you this. Do you make a police report when you file identity theft to the hospital?
I filed my identity theft with the Federal Trade Commission, and then once I had it filed, then I'm finishing up my letter that I'm sending to the governor and everybody. So when I file that, all that will be filed with the police departments and stuff that I'm filing because I can prove in my case where they've already covered it up by the court cases.
Okay.
So I can physically prove what they have done to me in the last 20 years. Because everybody involved, or the same, most of them are the same public servants involved in the last 20 years. So they can't deny they didn't know me, and they didn't know that they tried to shoot me. They know that I was done this or what happened. But all these public employees covered it up. So, I have about 100 of them that are liable.
Wow.
So right now I got to finish up that, and then I got to finish up the paper on each individual man and woman, and then for their bond and insurance, and I got to get that one filed. But I'm, like I said, right now, I got, I'm doing a juggling act too, like a lot of us are doing juggling acts. But Dave and I, and there's another couple guys that we're working with on a couple other projects. We'll have some stuff up because we're going out, we're proving this stuff, because we're tired like where everybody else is going. I keep asking everybody, says, oh, I've written this off, I've done this, and I said, we want proof. Now, you have proof on a case. Now they're trying to come back after you. Now you need to respond back to shut them down going, you've already authorized this.
Okay.
And that's where Dave was giving you the numbers and for the case on it.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So this is like some of the stuff you've got, put it down in writing, start putting it together, and we can get it bounced around.
Okay.
Right now I'm literally behind on 3 cases right now, 4 actually, and beside my own 3. But like I said, today, with all this craziness that happened yesterday, I basically wasted 7 hours of my day on the phone bouncing back and forth on shit that I shouldn't have been doing. I should have been writing. I can't just sit there and turn off one structure of my life and go to the other. It doesn't work like that. Women do that emotionally, but men can't do that. We're not bred that way. So, it is one of those things that we be realistic with one another. It's not taking things personal and stuff. It's educating and working this so this way it's not a conflict of interest. Because the main thing, if you guys don't pass your land down to your children and have any structure, your bloodline, you become extinct. Everybody goes, oh, we got to worry about the planets, all the plants and the deer and the elk. Well, we have to worry about all that too. But we're all becoming extinct. But people, remember, you're an animal too. You become extinct too if there's no bloodline passed.
May I?
That's true.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good comment there, Ed. Women do think with their emotions.
I know.
And we do very, very well with that.
Yeah, that's a good opinion.
So, I will leave my comment on that one alone.
Oh, come on. You weren't going to let me walk in any further?
Do you want me to?
No, not particularly, but it's just one of those things that, that's the point, is that we forget how to look at each other, how we are working with each other to survive, especially for the children. It is one of those things that people don't always look at the whole package.
Ed, you brought up a good point about package. When you get married, you become as one. Is that 50-50 or is that 100-100?
Right.
110. That's what it's supposed to be.
So let's put it this way: you can't give more than you have.
Nope.
So 100% is the max.
I'll agree.
But let's understand, or let's comprehend this: that if we are all going to survive, we all have to give 100%. And if we give anything less than that, we're frauding ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So in this endeavor, we all need to pledge 100% to educate ourselves and to do as best we can with the help and aid of others of our like minds.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we need, Ed and I have been saying this for a long time, we need commitment by our listening audience and those around us to stop this abuse and terrorism, acts of terrorism against us. Because that's what this is all about. It's active terrorism. We are the victims. We are the crime victims, have been since the birth certificate. I just posted to your NewOregonTrackers.com, Ed. It shows up as my brother's post, but I did the research on it and put it on his page, okay? With his knowledge and consent, by the way. So this thing looks at the HJR 192 Public Law 7310 as well. You see, the more you start researching this, the more you find that they did this, they did that. This includes on how to get your property taxes paid, how to get your child support paid, how to get your student loans paid, how to get your tort claims, your birth certificate money processed, to credit repair, buying houses, buying cars, everything. It's all in here. So I just posted that to NewOregonTrackers.com. And you might want to put it on the other sites. For some reason, I'm having trouble getting into some of them tonight. I don't know if they just don't like what I'm doing or what.
Well, I having the same difference because my a while back ago, my whole computer just went black. So I'm not shutting anything down because I still got this going and it's live. But it's just who knows? And we know that people have been upset. Me and Dave and some of the stuff, especially me for bringing it out or publicly saying different things. But you can't be upset when you can't prove what you're claiming. And this is the point. Of course, I find it interesting. We got many people that want to sit there and use our name and use our structure because be careful, people, when you see the Lawful Americans and the other company that's trying to say lawful bloodline. Be very careful about what they're trying to put you in, especially when they're trying to keep you in the IRS codes.
I just posted this to Trump's website, too.
Okay. Well, I'll have to get to that too when we get off the show.
This has to do with electronic transfer of money.
Oh, okay.
This latest stat, okay. But I find it is interesting that all of this stuff is in support of HJR 192 or 48 stat, 112. So public law is what it is. I don't know for that new car I bought. I don't know for, that house I just bought.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't create debt for the government, can I?
Nope. The only way they could do that, and the debt that they're talking about, the national debt, is what they're creating themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget that the British government is the servants.
So the IRS are wanting you to pay them in, Federal Reserve notes. Are they banks? Yes, they become a bank. The minute they monopolize on your deposit. And that's, civil RICO.
Mm-hmm. No, that's the point.
You can't pay debt with counterfeit money. I'm sorry.
Well, you can't pay it with an IOU for an IOU.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not paying. I don't want my debt paid, or I don't want my debt discharged in a counterfeit scheme. I want my bills paid lawfully.
Mm-hmm. And we're, like I said, we'll get more information out that publicly. And the one lady, I think that you are on my Facebook list, and if you are, double check and send me a link or an email. So
okay.
This way we can tag up with you, get some of the information.
Okay.
And did you listen to the show when we had Michelle on explaining some stuff?
I did listen to some of the stuff that Michelle said, and I'm working on that stuff now. Ordering the credit reports and getting the paperwork from the clerk and all that stuff that she said. So.
Right, and don't forget to get the stuff immediately from the tax collector, the assessor for the land on claiming your homestead.
Right, okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
So, I'm doing that myself, even though I've already published, because, it says you could do either or, and I've already publicized my stuff in the media 2 years ago, and I publicized it for 30 days. And, of course, I ran it on 3 full pages in the newspaper. So this way there was no conflict. Believe me, you could read everything I put, and it was filed in the House and Senate of Oregon, and it's in public records that I put up, too. So, I keep getting messages, but, folks, I can't read your message. I told you my computer's on a blackout. I can only see what I got on here, and I'm not crashing it until we end the show, because then that way I don't lose my other information I have. So, but anyhow, and this is the point, working together. This is what I've been trying to say to everybody involved, that we start putting this stuff together, start working together. Then this way we start seeing what's going on instead of everybody trying to do this and all these people that are running around circles around everybody else and, trying to give people information but have nothing further to give them. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And most people will tell you that they've done something, but like you said, they never back it up with any paperwork. So I have a friend that used to pay people for everything. I told her, I said, stop paying all these people for this stuff, because all they're doing is taking your money, and you never get any remedy from these people. I told her, if they had the remedy that they're giving you, if it really worked, I told her, do you think they'd be sitting up here taking your little $100 or $200? They'd be sitting on an island somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I said, come on now, stop, use your head. They're taking advantage of you.
Yeah, no, I watched people even charge up to $4,500, and they were going to get people out of their driver's license and do this and do that. You know, and I just tell people, read what I filed. That's what I filed. You know, well, how do you know it works? I'm still here. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not pulling the games on people, and I don't have a criminal record, never been to jail for any type of crap. And so, well, except for being kidnapped for telling judges or cops they couldn't serve a warrant that was not or autographed by a grand jury and autographed by a judge lawfully. You know, of course, this stuff, the videos are up on YouTube as well. You know, I mean, I've been there with people's rights to travel and, you know, kids stuff. And so, you know, the point is that people got to learn to quit arguing, listen, and actually do something about it.
Like me.
Well, you're learning. You're still learning.
I am.
You know, I mean, look at where you accomplished from a week ago compared to a week ago with your knowledge today.
Exactly. And it still dumbfounds me that I was told by a judge that no matter what, in the state of Oregon, I have to have, 1, a driver's license.
But
2,
see, there's a lot of people who don't have it.
And 3, insurance.
There's a lot of people who don't have it. But
No,
see,
there's a lot that don't.
I know, but the point is that sometimes things didn't happen in timing. But, you know, I always like to serve the paperwork on them and let the paperwork talk. I don't talk when I go to court.
And
you know, when they say your name, I'm here at special appearance. You've been served? Have you not been served? Or can you say you've been served for record? So, I mean, it's stuff we're all learning too and bringing out. But, you know, I mean, the one thing, it doesn't matter what the judge says. It matters what you say and you have on record. So we got to get that one going because I still got to get the other part. Did you start on the other one for the Court of Appeals?
I have not started on the Court of Appeals, but I did write down what happened in court today.
Okay, that's what needs to be done so we can file with the Court of Appeals, and then that way we can file the other paperwork that you didn't get in time.
And the funny part is she did not honor her oath of office because she had the preset judgment with an order already saying I was guilty before I ever had court.
Right.
Wow. Now, you know, that happened to me when I was doing my foreclosure case. When I got there, the judge and the attorney had already colluded together. They changed me to the last person, as usual. So when I went up, she asked me, was I the straw man, the illegus? And I told her no. I was a living, breathing person. So she told me she needed a defendant. But anyway, to make a long story short, they gave me an order, and the order, what happened is the judge made a statement in court, and then the attorney handed me the order after we, you know, got all done, and it was word for word. So I did some paperwork to recuse her because the paper, normally in court, after court, they always wrote the order was always handwritten while you waited for it. This particular day, it was all typed up by the attorney's office. You know, it was signed by the attorney. His law firm was on there and everything. And that's not how they normally do it in court. Normally, after the judge make her statement, they write up the order right there on the spot. So you might wait another 5 or 10 minutes, but this order, the guy went in his briefcase and pulled it out and handed it to me. And I guess they didn't know that I was a legal secretary, so I asked them, I said, well, excuse me, this is fraud. I said, how did you know what the judge was going to say? I mean, it was verbatim, word for word. So you are absolutely right. They do. They make their decisions before you even come in the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's a preset deal. It's like I was. Ed has it. Has the copy of it. 2 months prior to going to court, I got a letter in the mail saying I was found guilty. And I sat there and I looked at the clerk when I walked out of the courtroom, and I was hotter than a hornet. And I looked at her and I said, so where do I turn in my food stamps? She goes, well, we don't accept food stamps. I said, well, you don't have a federal court order either. So because you don't have a federal court order, you won't get a dime from me. because you cannot take from Social Security money for any traffic fines or anything. It has to come from a federal court order. Not a state, not a city, not a county. But it has to be a federal court order to take from a federal monies. Am I incorrect, Ed?
No, you're correct.
So they plan on getting money out of me when they're not going to get a dime. I think I'm actually going to get money out of them.
Not only that, you have the case too from the Department of Justice says they can't charge people for fines and court fines. Department of Justice sent a letter out to all the courts confirming that.
I gotta get a copy of that letter.
It's in your inbox.
Yeah, I would like to get a copy of that too.
That's based on the Supreme Court ruling that we put up here several weeks ago, Ed. I'm trying to remember the case on it.
Yeah, but that even goes back to what we filed in the Supreme Court when we went after Eric Holder with the court structure that we filed that did that, because that decision came out by administrative rules just a couple of weeks after we filed on the Department of Justice.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, and the interesting part for both of you is the prosecuting attorney was Oregon State Patrol. That officer who gave me the ticket was the person who specifically said I was driving without a seatbelt was why he pulled me over.
That's not an emergency.
No, it's not. But that is the whole reason for the ticket for no insurance.
You cannot be the injured party. Do you still have the ticket?
I still have actually, Ed has the ticket.
No, I don't. I have a copy of it. You have the original.
Oh, yes, I have the original ticket, yes. I do have the original.
Go down to the treasury, your state treasury, and cash it in.
Ed, you're going to have to walk me through that because I don't know how to do that.
Well, when he issued you a ticket, that's a negotiable instrument. So you take it down to the treasury and cash it in for what the value of it is.
$260?
There you go.
And you want, we'll put an order into the judge that you want that award. He gave you a negotiable instrument. Write it down right now, what we're saying. Write it down.
Okay.
But doesn't she only have 5 days or so many days to do that?
She just went to court today over at the convicted.
This what happened today. Okay.
She's doing that before 72 hours.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was court today. Okay.
Okay, so what do I need to do? I got pen and paper.
Repeat that again, Dave.
Okay, you have a negotiable instrument because that's what a ticket is. The officer cannot be the injured party. And under the right to travel, you don't need registration, license plates, driver's license, or insurance. The court, Google right to travel ruling. I have it on, I think, one of our pages, my 18-page document, which includes your right to kill an officer for unlawful arrest.
Yeah, we need to put that 18-page instrument on all 3 sites.
So, basically, this is false arrest. Because the officer works for the corporation, you can inform the court that your fee schedule is $100,000 an hour with a minimum of 4 hours. So since they arrested you fraudulently and brought you into court, you can charge them for 4 hours, take it to the Supreme Court, and get a declaratory judgment based on the court's ruling of right to travel. Then you can lead this cop up for $400,000, and he can't eat breakfast until he pays you what he owes you. Because you now know the law, and you didn't when you entered the court. And you do not accept the fraud upon the court.
No, they don't like it when I call a Rule 60D3.
That's fine. Good for you. But people need to read and understand or comprehend that right to travel ruling.
See, we got him trained there, Ed.
But see, I added a lot to that ruling, and then pasted it on the Facebook of all, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Michigan, put it on all their websites. So, gee, I am driving on my car with expired 30-day tags for now over a year. I didn't recontract with them. And I just put right to travel over the bottom of the plate. And I've been driving that way. I've been to Texas twice, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Vermont, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia.
Don't come to Chicago.
Well, I may end up there tomorrow.
I love it.
And I have a copy of the right to travel paperwork with me, and if the officer stops me, I'll ask him what his emergency is and tell him my fee schedule $100,000 an hour. So if he plans on detaining me or arresting me, the time starts right now. So if he plans on arresting me, putting me in jail or whatever, the clock's ticking. It's the easiest money I ever made. Go for it.
So what do I do with the ticket?
Take it down to the state treasury, or you might mail them an affidavit, enclose a copy of it, tell them you want to redeem it for value. And then they could discharge it under, what was that? 48 stat 112.
48112?
Mm-hmm.
48 stat 112.
Yeah, it's chapter 48, 48 stat 112.
Stat 112 or 112.
USC?
No, it's not USC.
Okay.
It's just chapter 48.
You can just type in 48 stat 112 and it'll come up.
It would be. It would be under U.S. code because chapter 48 is U.S. code.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be USC?
The way it's written on this document is chapter 48, 48 stat 112.
And if she Google it, she could just put 48 stat 112 and it'll come up.
Yeah.
Okay, just I had too many people talking at the same time, so I couldn't clearly hear.
Okay, I was saying if you just Google 48 stat 112, it'll come up.
Okay. State Treasury would be Salem, wouldn't it, Ed?
This a state cop that did this to you, or a local yokel?
Stater.
What state?
Oregon.
Oh, I don't have it. I don't have it posted in Oregon. What's Ed does?
It was the good old OSP.
But if you go to Ohio State Patrol, Indiana State Police, Michigan State Police, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, all of those have this document of mine on their Facebook wall.
Oh, Dave, if you had been there, you would have been laughing. They told me in order to get the evidence that they were using against me or any of the paperwork from the Oregon State Patrol, I had to send them $50.
Nope, you do not.
That's what it's in the letter. And
no, but that's what you're not. That's the thing. People don't listen. It says it. Then we have the law that says they can't do this, and people don't quote that back to them. They say they said this, and they do what they told.
Okay.
See, it doesn't matter what they say. What are you responding back with?
I told them that it was supposed to be free.
Excuse me. Where is it in writing?
I didn't have it in writing. That's
yep,
where I'm
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I've got that here.
Because hearsay is not admissible in court.
No, but I did have proof that I'm on
Social when you talk, that's hearsay evidence. You have nothing to back it up.
Then they'll throw it out. Why can't I find that court case, Ed?
As soon as you do, I'm trying to get back on the other one here.
I'm on my brother's computer, that's why.
Oh, that would help.
My computer's at home. I am in Indiana right now, and my home is in Ohio. So not thinking I would really need the computer, I left it home. Duh. Hate those brain farts. Let me check. Let me see if I can find something here. Do a search on.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to get something. I'm trying to figure out something here. And I just got to start closing some other stuff down no matter what I'm losing right now. Because I don't like the way the computer is running. I just got to keep a couple things open. Okay, I got that one resolved. But see, you just, okay. Anyhow, the one thing is like what I was trying to get, people to look at, when I send them stuff, they have to sit there and research this. They have to read it. They have to go through it. They have to do it. Because I'm not an attorney. Dave and I are not attorneys. We're not here to write your structure. You have to put your structure together and look at the way others are doing it. And open your mind. You have to think like an attorney. You cannot have compassion. You cannot have emotions. You got to start looking at the way how these people are going after you and how you need to go back after them. And remember, it's paper. You've got to do it in paper. If you don't write it, it does not exist. You cannot ever go into a court and talk. Hearsay witness. That's the point. When you open your mouth, you're talking dead man's hand. And that's where people do not get that reality. Because we are living this reality. Because when you talk about the Bible That's why they have you swear on the Bible when you go into court. You swear on the devil's book. Because if you don't sit there and tell the truth, you're bringing the devil on you. That's why they say, were you willing to swear on the Bible? And I agree with that. Because if you're telling lies and perjury and whatnot, then you deserve the wrath that comes down. Don't ask for forgiveness. Don't ask for kindness. But if you're right, you don't have to go through that. And this is the point that you've got with people. This is the whole point of writing this stuff up. This is like the deal that, Dave and I have gone through with some other people that we've been attacked on, that it's been very interesting listening to the attacks, and I will have a response on a couple of things coming out in writing pretty soon. But I want to make sure they're done correctly, because it has to be done correctly, especially what's transpired. This is what is really disturbing to me, is that, people go after, and I tell people, I'm going to use their information. I'm going to alter it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I do let people know, because they use my instruments and I use theirs, and we look at them and we see how to improve them. That's what teamwork is about. That's what your kids, your future is about. Because if you don't sit there and do that for your future, what kind of future are you going to have? That's the one thing. A lot of us, some of us do have children, and we got to look at their future, and we got to look at how they're going to survive. You don't look at those things. What's the point of having children? It comes down to it. It's your bloodline, And so now with the alleged circumstances, I'm going trying to get it on the other machine here, and I'm fighting that one too. But, the one thing is like on the traffic issue, that is the point that, things were brought up. I know some things didn't get there in a timely manner, but also, too, I've had it posted on my wall off and on for the last 2 months, reposted on all the websites 2 or 3 times. So, it's not harping on anybody. We're all sitting there trying to do things, and it's tough when you're trying to run around and get things done. And the worst thing is when you have no transportation, because you're really stranded. And some of us are like that. Trust me, I live that one too right now. Because I would be traveling, but like I said, they've already got an order on me if I travel what they're going to try to do. So I'm not giving them a chance on that right now at all until I get my other paperwork filled out and set up and signed and filed. And once I do that, I'm going to be setting up so that way, I'm going to take this to federal court. Once it's filed in federal court and I have the instruments in my hand, then I can do something about it. But I can't go by hearsay, and that's the point. People have got to realize you cannot do things by hearsay. Because if you don't file your structure, you're going by hearsay, and hearsay, like I said, is admissible in court. And that's the one thing we don't want to get into that. Inadmissible of court. You want things admitted in court. And so, there's other court cases too going around the state that I know other people have filed, and they're going through some conflicts possibly with some judges, and the judges are trying to pull their little opinion and structure back and forth, trying to say that they have to go by administrative rules when we're not part of administrative rules. But this is where they have been trained that everybody is under administrative rules. And so this is where we have to sit there and say, no, we're not. And this is where I keep harping that we've got to stand together. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like the lady, you get that other paperwork to us. I still got to finish up the other point that I got to deal with the other lady on that we were trying to get last weekend. But like I said, it's been crazy and hectic on both ends. And I know that, but at least you should have filed the flag one when you walked in. And I know you had that one. You know what I'm talking about on the flag, right?
I already took that one back in, and I also gave them a color of law violation notice.
Okay, and did you get a stamped receipt from the court on it?
They refused to do that.
Did you get the lady's name or male name who refused to do their job?
She refused to give me her name.
Oh, really? So now you can file on the entire court.
I planned to, and they told me I needed to go to Vail to do that, where the court case is on my son for the kidnapping of my child.
Okay,
It leads into
what the hell has that got to do with the traffic ticket?
Because that is where the appeal goes to.
The appeal has nothing to do with traffic court with your children's case. Absolutely nothing.
No, I'm saying that's the courthouse. Where I go to the courthouse is where I'm dealing with that case as well as the...
I'm not talking about any other case but your traffic ticket right now.
I know, I'm just saying I'm going to one courthouse.
Okay. I already knew that part. So what I'm asking is that, so when you went to file the thing with the flag, you're telling me that they wouldn't accept any filings from you?
None.
So that means tomorrow you have to make your filing registered certified mail to them.
Mm-hmm.
That means it has to be done tomorrow, so they got it Wednesday, so it's in 72 hours.
Exactly.
Even though Thursday is 72 hours. But remember, they play the game of the way they see it.
Exactly. And I may just pay to have it overnighted.
No. Okay.
Have you Googled your judge on Dun & Bradstreet, Wall Street, to see if he's traded? That would show his conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
No, because I haven't figured out how to do that exactly yet.
I told you to type it in on it's right there on the internet.
I know, but every time I do it, they said I have to open an account.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, because at one time you could do it free. Now they want you to open up an account because so many people were getting free information. On Dun & Bradstreet, that's what I was trying to say earlier. But yeah, at one point you could go on Dun & Bradstreet and do it and file things. Because I was trying to say earlier that you could go on Dun & Bradstreet and put the church name in, and they'll tell you what they get of how much money they make yearly of what's coming in. But you can also put in corporations and get their information and people. So I haven't had to do it in a long time. I don't know if they're charging you, but I think the last time that I tried, I think they did want you to open some kind of account up.
I think you get like a 7-day free trial, and then they charge you after that. I could be wrong. It could have been another site I saw that on.
Open an account to look at the Bradstreet numbers. I've got that on my Facebook page.
Dun & Bradstreet?
Yeah, well, also, too, I got most of the corporations' identifications on the Facebook. Even Oregon State Courts, I've got that somewhere.
Maybe I'm thinking
I never
of
heard that you couldn't go into Dun & Bradstreet and type up a corporation without pulling it up, without registering. Because we were just doing that just a month or so ago.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Okay.
No,
it just could be that I entered the address wrong because I was able to one time, and I just had to find the link to that one I had.
Mm-hmm. You know, but like I said, it does take reading. That's the one thing we're all doing, is reading, comprehending. You know. So I still got to get 2 other letters finished up for you. I'm still trying to get my other one done, which I never got that one finished today. Like I said, 7 hours on the phone going back and forth with basically the craziness part of it last night, you know. And it's interesting, you know. They want to try to do a public trial on their wave last night. Well, once these...
Well, you know what? I was thinking of the Fidelity website.
Huh?
I said I was thinking of the Fidelity website, not the Dun & Bradstreet.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was thinking of.
Okay, gotcha. Well, see, I mean, and this is the point, you know, when people get arguing over stuff that doesn't need to be argued over, and it's already been proven, already a fact. The point is of standing together and make it happen. You know?
Did they read that lady her rights?
No, they never probably met her Miranda rights, too, when they wrote her a ticket, because they have to do that when they write you a ticket, too.
Nope.
Oh, there you go.
Nope, no Miranda rights, no nothing. They didn't even when Idaho arrested me back in August of this year, they didn't read me my Miranda rights until I went up to court 4 days after I went into...
Oh, I'm sorry, but that's on a service fraud.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even give me my warrant till several hours after they had me in custody, and it was not...
Was the warrant stamped or autographed by a grand jury?
No.
That's what you need to be writing down right now, writing this stuff down. No, it was not. Where's the proof?
Were you taken to an administrative hearing before you were jailed, or were you jailed and fingerprinted and pictured and all that stuff first?
Well, technically, I was in the courtroom having court for a different case. Then they arrested me in the courtroom and took me straight to booking.
Okay, took you straight to booking, not to an administrative hearing.
Nope, I didn't have a administrative hearing till the following Monday because I was arrested on a Friday.
You were kidnapped and held for ransom.
Yes,
Right.
I was kidnapped and held for ransom. They did an unlawful search, and it made me feel like I had been raped.
You were.
And I stated it over and over again, and they have this on body cam footage. They threw me back in jail because I did not understand what they were saying.
Good.
And they put in their court minutes that I asked for continuance, which I did not, and I actually have the audio recording of that court hearing. And then the next day, because I got bonded out that night, I went in for my next arraignment hearing, and I have where the judge entered a plea of not guilty on my behalf without my permission.
So he's acting as an attorney. You've got to write this stuff down.
And I have this all documented. I do have that court stuff documented for Idaho. And I actually go to what they call a pretrial hearing on January 6th, and then my first day of trial is January 9th.
Yeah, but you want to have all this stuff written up in the next 10 days. You want to have it served in the next 12 days. You don't want to wait till January because you want to start the argument with them right now, so this way you want to take it to the federal courts. See, if you play their game and you wait till January and start, and then you try to fight the battle, you've already lost the battle.
No, I want to take.
I know this is where this is where you know the stuff I'm sending you. Put it in chronicle order. Put it the way you've got it. Okay. You know the circumstances. I don't. Does that make sense?
Yes. That makes sense, and it also is kind of funny how they jump from one judge to another judge to another judge to another judge.
They do that to mentally confuse you. Go ahead.
I've had 5 judges, and I have every single one of their oaths of office for that county. And when I asked him, and I have the recording of that, I asked him if he was going to honor his oath of office. He said he was going to, and then I asked him how by chance did he have jurisdiction, and he said, because I do. So I am actually wanting to have a jurisdiction trial.
He has
all this is. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, he has to prove he has jurisdiction. He doesn't just say, I have it. He has to prove it. He has to prove it.
But see, she doesn't put any of this in writing, so it's all hearsay.
And it's teaching me.
I know, because you still have to put everything in writing from the last court case and this one today, and you have to serve them. Otherwise, it's hearsay.
Exactly.
And we've got to find for her that court case from the Supreme Court that says they cannot charge the man and woman for fees and all this stuff.
Well, I've got that from that on the website. And actually, I've sent that to her, I believe.
I did not. I was actually.
And also, too, I put on her wall, I believe, the other night, the one that's from the Department of Justice that says that the courts cannot charge fees and stuff like this in the Department of Justice after we serve them.
Okay, I did not see that one, but I did get the one with the police car, and I printed that off and took it with me to court.
Okay, well, when I get back after I crash my computer, I will do that because I've got something else running on it. I can't crash it and close it down because it's the recording.
Exactly.
That's the thing how my computer's done what it's done. But it happens. You know, so anyhow, we'll get some of the other stuff to you. We'll get it out. Now you gotta start putting together what happened today. Put it in writing.
Already got part of it written down.
Okay, because if you don't put it in writing, any of you, if you don't put it in writing, it's hearsay witness. It's admissible. It's like the district attorney. A district attorney is an admissible party in a claim because the injured party has to be the defendant or the perpetrator, one or the other. You can't have the invisible shadow ghost protecting you. It doesn't work that way. You got to do it yourself. That's why democracy has destroyed this country, because maybe it had some possibilities, but when democracy sits there and runs everything and destroys everything for their own gain, you know, and people go, oh, we're democracy. What could somebody explain a real term in democracy? Because democracy, to me, says that if 51% want to rape, rob, and murder, 51% rule the world, and that's what we're living right now today. You know? I mean, people will vote in people because they can't say they're a crook, but they tell lies. So they get away with it, and sometimes people, you don't need to tell lies. You don't need to speak up and tell people anything. That way you're not convicted of committing a lie. You know? I mean, there's a thing that's going, I don't have to answer that, or I claim my 7th Amendment. I don't like the 5th in some regards. But your 7th is better than the 5th. Go ahead. Somebody was speaking up.
May I?
Yes.
No, I was going to say sometimes it's good if you have the money to pay someone to come in and a court, you know, what they call maybe come in and type up the court stuff, the deposition not the depositions, but I'm kind of tired, so my mind is not working like it should. But you can hire someone to come in and type up what's going on in the court for you. So everything that's being said and done is on record because you have the. I'm sorry to hear you. Because all the courts.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because all the courts don't have court reporters. That's what I'm trying to say. In the courtroom, you can hire your own court reporter to come in and take record and take notes for you, and you can you'll have that all on file. It'll be on the record of the court then, because everybody can order that, and you can use that in court when you go back.
Well, that's the other point.
That's just a suggestion. You know, if you have an issue. But I have another question. I need to get off the subject for 1 minute. This is a quick question. I have a friend. He and his wife filed their taxes. Well, his wife filed the taxes, but they had done some 1099 OIDs, and they both were convicted. However, he's in prison, but he wasn't working, so he never filed any tax papers. The wife filed the tax papers, and the check came in the wife's name, and it went into the wife's bank account. But they convicted him and locked him up with her, even though he never signed or received anything. I mean, it was all in her name. And he's serving time right now.
Don't you?
I'm sorry, here.
I said, you know why they did that, don't you?
No, why?
Do they have a thing called a marriage license?
Really?
Did they get married? A marriage license? That's the lawful or legal way.
Okay, yes. Yeah, they are legally married, but he never. I mean,
you're not comprehending this point. Read the contract and a marriage license that you file with the state. Nobody reads the marriage license. The print that's below.
So read the marriage license, okay?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've really done dozens of marriages myself.
Okay. Well, you can do your own marriage contract. But I guess what I was trying to ask was the point that even though a husband and wife file, you can file separately, and you're not liable for what your spouse filed. I mean, if your
but why would you want to file?
No. I don't file. I'm just saying.
Right,
I'm trying to get this answer for a friend because I was talking to her earlier, and she was telling me that her husband never signed any IRS papers, and she said that he was not working. She filed everything. So my question is how did they convict him when he never filed? He never signed anything under penalty of perjury. He never filed. He never signed the tax papers. The checks came in her name, and it went into her bank account. Now she did say that he told them that he told her to file the OIDs. So they charged him. They charged both of them. But I don't think it's a crime to tell somebody to file something, especially if you're telling another adult. That's their decision. Or am I wrong?
Dave, would you like to throw the first thought on this one?
I've got a lot of questions on this. I want to review some things, Ed, before I open my mouth on this one.
Okay, no problem. I agree with you. But my thought on this one, is that when he went to court, the judge says, "You're so and so." He said yes. Judge says, "Do you admit to this?" He goes, "No." So he's already speaking instead of letting his paperwork speak for him, and so he's going along with the court, so he's allowing them to make the decision of having him in jail or not.
Even though he never signed anything?
Never filed anything on his behalf.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He never signed anything, and I thought they had to have your signature under penalty of perjury.
Well, technically they do, but nobody filed that in his case.
And that's exactly what I told her. I said that's the case. That's what should have come up, and that's what they should have been addressing.
Right.
The fact that he never signed anything. He never agreed or signed anything with the IRS. So technically, legally, I didn't see how they were able to come after him. But she said because he told them that he told her to file the paperwork, they recorded it and they went after him as well. So,
right.
I said
he made a statement. If he would have never said that, he would have never be where he's at.
Okay, but my question to you, is it illegal to tell somebody to file paperwork?
Yes, it is illegal, but you have to file that against the man or woman and prove it.
No, that wasn't my question. My question was, if I tell you to file some type of paperwork and you file it, is it legal for them to arrest me for telling you to do this?
Well, there are people who have actually gone to jail for that because you instruct somebody else what to do and the other man or woman does it. So what do they call that? Conspiracy. Go ahead, may I?
Okay.
No, I didn't know it was getting aggressive. Sorry if people took that aggressive, but
I didn't think it was aggressive. I didn't find it aggressive, because I'm just listening to what you're saying. But my question was, if you tell another adult to do something and they do it, why are you liable when they're an adult?
Because you conspired with them to do it because you instructed them. You're the leader. You're in charge.
Okay.
I tell you to jump off the bridge, and the parents want to come after me because I told you to jump off the bridge and you died, so they're coming after me for murder.
So is it my fault that you're stupid? And jump off the bridge?
I knew we were going to get there.
Well, I'm just saying, is it my fault if you're stupid and jump off the bridge?
You answered the question.
Okay. Okay, I got you. I mean, you know what? I hear what you're saying, but
but see, that's the point that we get frustrated with ourselves because we don't think.
Okay, and
no, listen, I hear everything that you said, but to me, I guess I don't find it to be very logical because if you're an adult, most adults are held responsible for their own actions. And just because I tell you to do something and you do it doesn't mean that it should be my fault that you didn't investigate and you went and did something that you shouldn't have.
Well, yeah, but that's where stupidity does prevail.
Okay.
Edward.
No, we don't use the word stupid. We just say trusting. If you trust people enough to do something.
Well.
Ed.
Yes, go ahead.
Found that court case.
Say that again?
I found that court case.
Oh, you did? Okay, bring it up.
The United States Supreme Court has ruled that a natural individual is entitled to relief, is entitled to free access to its judicial tribunals and public offices in every state of the Union. 2 Black, 620. See also Crandall versus Nevada.
Yep.
6 Wall 35.
Okay, can you post that on the wall?
Let me finish. I want to read it to them so they understand or comprehend it. See, 6 Wall 35, plaintiff should not be charged fees or cost for the lawful and constitutional right to petition this court in this manner in which he is entitled relief, as it appears that the filing fee rule was originally implemented for fictions and subjects of the state and should not be applied to the plaintiff who is a natural individual and entitled to relief. Hale versus Hinkle, 201 U.S. 43.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore the judge has no authority nor lawful right to charge you fees and costs.
Yeah, to get that posted up so people can grab that one too tonight.
Yeah, I tried to cut, copy, and paste it, and guess what? It just...
it's telling you no way?
Just do not want to. Oh, I can select all.
Okay, I guess, or if we got a share button on it. Or all. We'll figure it out to get it out.
Oh, it's being downloaded now.
Oh, okay. Well, see, this is the one thing that when we go to these kangaroo courts, remember, these men and women do not care about you. They don't love you. I don't give a damn if it's their own mother and father. They don't love and care.
That is so true.
Okay? They're there for the money. They're there for their prestige and nobility.
Look at this girl.
Well, as I say, their yachts and their private planes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, trust me, I've been in Lear jets, and I loved that when I was in the position I was in life.
Oh, they excuse me, Ed, but they are right now downloading my brother's entire webpage on Facebook.
I would cut the computer off right now. I would crash it. I wouldn't let anybody have that type of access. Somebody does that on my computer, I crash it immediately. Screw them.
So do I.
No, I crash it because you turn it off. It still gives them time to go through the dialing of it.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's that case that was cited earlier where no fees, where sovereign has to pay no fees. Does that also go to recording fees?
Yes, and we do have one on recording fees too as well.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that, but I sure could use it. Could you email me that, please?
You send me an email twice, put the talk show in the subject line, and I'll work on getting that to you in 48 hours.
Actually, that court case I just mentioned is on Davidlee, and then a space on your space bar.
He doesn't have Facebook, Dave.
Oh, shoot.
Yes, sir.
So that's why he's asking for the email.
For everyone else, who does have, it's on my Facebook page at Davidlee. That's all one word, and then a space on your space bar, Boost, and you have to scroll down through the various posts till you come across it. It's probably about halfway down or so.
Yeah, and I got to get the other one because I got the other one that has the 6 court cases that you don't have to pay filing fees or the clerk. And then I got the other one, if the clerk doesn't file your paperwork, the clerk could do a minimum of 1 to 5 years in federal prison for not doing her employment or his employment. And see, these are the things that need to be filed. And when you file them, make sure they're public. And this is where I was trying to get last night, and what I've been trying to get with others going, is that you send your paperwork, we do the paperwork, we start backing each other up. You know, when you start going off on the track compared to the way our administrative rules have been written to protect us, all right, now either we have a government or we don't have a government. And that means that we, the people, having our government, putting it back into place. Okay, now we've already got the tools in place. Now we just need to do it. We need to make sure that these criminals are held accountable.
Hey, Ed.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Isn't the Bar Association currently on commercial lien, if I'm not mistaken, and I yield?
Yeah, they're on commercial lien by about a dozen people right now.
Does that mean they're not supposed to be operating right now, and they are operating?
That's right. They're committing
illegally?
fraud. Oregon State is too, because we filed on that with them 3 years ago.
All right.
Okay.
I yield.
Now, Dave and I filed one with the American Bar Association. Wasn't that 2015? Didn't we file that? Was February 2015, Dave?
I was going to say it was over a year ago.
Well, no, I know that. Well, no, it might have been 14. It was 14 we did it.
Yeah, end of 14 or first of 15, I forgot.
Well, I think it was the first of 14 we filed with the American Bar Association.
Okay.
You know, so yes, we do have that filing, and I believe that filing is actually on our sites as well.
Yeah, we've done so much stuff, I kind of forget what we have gotten and what we haven't gotten done. And by the way, nobody ever responds to any of this stuff, do they, Ed?
No, and then the other point is they want to go write their own structure, doing their own things, which is great. But when you see something, go ahead.
We can now file against them for violation of their oath and their job description.
Not only that, you've already got the filing, folks. You can use what we filed. You could use what anybody's technically filed that won a court case. In some of these court cases, you go back and piggy bank the filing. You know, and I'm trying to get that information. Go ahead, Dave.
That was Toast.
Oh, Toast, go ahead. Oh,
who was it? I didn't say it.
It was me. I said you can use it if it's not sealed. They seal a lot of this stuff up, and you can't get the information.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom of Information Act.
Right, and then the other point with that is see if you got news media in your community that somebody might take kind to your thoughts of what you're doing and showing them your case or what you're trying to do. Who knows? They might publicize something in the Freedom of Information Act on your case in the paper. You know, I mean, it's been a while since I've had stuff written in the paper, but I've had a lot of stuff over the years written in the paper. Okay? And
there are some things even the Freedom of Information Act won't give you.
Say that again?
They list it on their website. There's certain things that they won't send you.
Well, yeah, because remember, a lot of these places are claiming they have a copyright to it when it's publicly funded. And if you know public funding, when you publicly fund something, it still belongs to the public, we, the people, not of the corporation of a board.
Yeah, and again, I say they break their own laws. You know, they have all these laws out here, but they don't follow them. They want us to follow the laws, but then they don't follow them.
Well, yeah, because we're not sitting down there going after them and recalling them. See, let me put it this way. When I recalled the entire school board member, I was literally laughed throughout the entire state of Oregon and the papers. 30 papers laughed at me in the state of Oregon when I was going to recall the school board and I started opening up the investigation. 30 newspapers and God knows how many talk shows that they were laughing and thought it was a joke. And then when I went in and I got the numbers, I mean, I had the ballot. I had half of the signatures I needed for the ballot in 5 days. Then I got forced into letting the union do it. So I worked with the union. We still got it passed. Within 20 days, we had all the signatures, plus I think 7,000 more than what we needed. So basically, we already had the landslide. And then I panicked because the union starts waiting to the last day to bring it into the elections department at the last half hour of the day. And I'm like, shit, that paperwork should have been in 2 weeks ago. But remember, it's politics.
Yep. And it's an old attorney trick. They like to turn this stuff at the last minute so you don't have time to answer. Or they put you in a panic or a rush to answer.
Oh, yeah, I know that. But how can they put their own people in a panic? That's what I thought was funny. You know?
They throw you under the bus so quick.
So, I mean, and that's what gets to me. They're making their own people panic, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, these guys are ruthless and cruel, and they call me that? So, you know, I mean, I already went through this stuff with a lot of them, been there, and like I said, when the recall happened, everybody was freaked out because I had two public servants that were recalled come up to me in a public meeting and just jumped in my face going, you have no idea what you did, and you publicly humiliated me, and my friends won't even talk to me now, and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm nothing but shit on a shingle, primarily is what they told me. Well, all I told them was that we want to know where the money is. If they would have gave us the bank accounts, they would have never got recalled.
That's kind of what I asked Donald relating to the courts. Where's all the money?
That's what I've asked the city counter and the county commissioners. Where's our money for taxes? Where's our money for this? I mean, they're charging me $7.50 a month for a street light tax in my town.
Street light tax?
$7.50, I pay that. Not only that, we got a $3.50 road maintenance fee tax.
How can that be when all governments are funded by the same?
Not only that, why are we getting a street tax, a maintenance tax, when that comes out of the gas tax from the state? And I can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Oregon Department of Transportation misplaced somehow $500 million. Oops, we just don't know where $500 million went. I mean,
well, it's the same thing when they say that the lottery is for the school system, and then all the schools are in debt.
Right, but see, the schools are technically not in debt.
They can't be in debt.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. No, I know. I still got a lot to learn here in the next couple of days. So I know that. And the one thing, Toast, also, too, for everybody on, too, I want to make sure that you know and everybody else knows. I want to thank you because without you exposing a lot of this stuff and the other parts that people got upset because they realized that some things that they were playing possibly a game, and it's not a game.
Well,
life is not a game.
I live in the realm of fact, so I don't like hearsay. And, well, if I did something wrong, I want it to be brought to the table.
Well, the other point is that you went through a learning experience, too, on certain things. And this is the point that nobody needs to walk down that road that you went through that bumpy road in.
Well, all I can say is this, no one can hurt me anymore because I'm just going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to have no fear. I'm not going to have no anger.
Yeah, you have nothing to worry about.
They can do what they want because guess what? I'm not going to involve myself with anybody that's doing anything devious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I yield on that.
Yep.
Eddie, I've got a point to bring up.
Well, the floor is yours.
Okay, if the 33 Bankruptcy Act, all law and statutes were turned over to international law and copywritten, what law can they use against us?
Mm-hmm.
We're lawless America.
Right.
So
remember, we got 11th immunity.
That's right. The other thing, if the court is forcing us to sign anything, that is a fact. Are they disclosing it as a contract? That would be a violation of Uberum Fide, Uberum Fides, ultimate truth in contract law, ultimate truth in contracts. So if they are not disclosing our signed autograph as a living person.
Well, a living man or woman.
Man or woman, okay. That's a fraudulent contract, null and void on face ab initio. So it's unenforceable.
Right, and this is where they're getting away coming after us with gunpoint.
That's
because
right.
Men haven't been real men since after World War II because they got working and, then all of a sudden TV started playing this stuff that men were mean to women. I was on a talk show yesterday dealing with abortion, and I'm arguing with the lady who's running the talk show, and she's going, well, I have a right to my body, but not what's inside my body. Wait a minute. You're saying you own your body, but if you're pregnant, you cannot have the say over your body. Well, that's God's decision. Well, if that's God's decision... Go ahead.
That's not what she said. She said,
I know, yeah.
She said, I own my body, but not what's inside my body. Well, there's a lot of stuff inside your body. You don't have to be pregnant. Your heart, lungs, your kidneys, whatever. She didn't specify. She did not specify what she meant by inside her body.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Does that mean anybody can just come up and rob her of her organs at any time that they want. I mean, it was stated. I'm going to yield with that.
Well, if she stated that she owned her body but not what was inside it, yeah, she's stupid. I mean, excuse me, that would be my thought on the situation.
Well, then the other point I brought up that she didn't like, and I said, well, doesn't the Bible say for a child when it sees light, it says it in the Bible. So doesn't it mean that the child now is born, it sees light, it doesn't see light when it's in you? So can you explain that point to me?
Did she quote the verse?
Well, no, she wanted to get me off our show now. And I'm like, what? You don't like the truth because, it says in the Bible and it says in the law of this country that says that until the child sees light, it's not alive.
Actually, the legal maxim says that the child is
conceived, but remember, people want to go by their Bible, so that's what it says in their Bible.
Well, you got to remember, there's a legal maxim.
Yeah, the legal maxim was written by the church and the structure.
Life begins at conception and is for his or her benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't define benefit. So, gee, that could be anything, couldn't it? Therefore, life begins at conception. And the Supreme Court lied in their ruling on Hale versus Hinkle because they said they couldn't find anything in law that proves they didn't search the legal maxims, which proves they're a bunch of deadbeat idiots.
Yeah,
I'll stand on my record. Because I sent them a letter telling them, hey, you guys didn't check the legal maxims. Here, page number, blah, blah, 1200 and something in Black's Laws Dictionary, 8th edition. Check it out. You didn't check it. You made a false statement. You made a false statement in your ruling.
Yep.
That was done under political pressure.
That was done for public funding.
That was done for a lot of illegal reasons.
Right, that's true.
And here's my point, is why do I have to pay for somebody else's night of pleasure? If that's the case, then, gee, I'm going to bill Tom, Dick, and Harry for everything I do.
Not only that, but see, when it goes under House Resolution 192, that's where they need to autograph it off their structure.
Mm-hmm.
Because, see, the point is that, until recent years, and most people don't know this, but with the structure and property taxes, ambulance and hospitals were already in the structure of property taxes. And they started taking that out in the 1980s and 1990s, and they were changing the tax code of your local structure so that way they could put it in medical benefits, so that way they could say we could spend all the money on research instead of on you, the people that it's supposed to go to. That's why research went up, $200 billion. And that money technically is supposed to be we the peoples.
Well, my question is, if they have misused public funds, that's a criminal act. Misuse and misappropriation of public funds. The money was to go to us, and it went to somebody else. That's misappropriation.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get them for, mispresence.
Well, and that's the other point, too. We'll have these templates out for folks. You guys can alter them, do what you want to do if you want to use them. Okay? But the point is that when we do this, remember, we're all liable for this structure, so we're not making things up to set anybody up, because I'm not setting myself up for anything. I just want to make sure that we're doing this so that they know, that they realize that they're public servants and they're supposed to be working for we the people, and this is the law, not their administrative rules. And so that's where we, the people, need to stand up. You know?
Oh, I concur.
You know, and some of it, we're slowly getting it, and we're getting more numbers up.
You and I have written more paperwork and filed it than probably 99% of the men and women in the United States.
Yeah, we can't forget Paul Mitchell and them done a lot too.
Well, yeah. But Mitchell's charging $400 a pop now.
I know.
Versus free.
I know.
Maybe we'd have more respect then if we charged. Well, no. We gotta, well, we don't want to. Well, it doesn't matter because there aren't any taxes anyway. They can't get us the income tax, so we could charge. We could actually start charging for our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But I'd rather keep it on the basis it is and try to get the American people educated and smartened up.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes people don't see it as a benefit unless they have to pay something for it. So.
Yeah, that's the sad point that people were brought up in that way of thinking, that, you know, that they're taught that life ain't free, when technically life is supposed to be free.
Mm-hmm.
That means we have to get off our butt. We're supposed to cut the trees for our home.
Yep.
You know, we're supposed to be mowing the grass and feeding our livestock with that.
Well, don't forget, Ed, that if you cut a tree down, there's a $3 stump fee that has to be paid to the Native Americans.
I don't know. I've heard it, but I've never paid it when I butchered mine down.
Well, I know, but that's part of the treaty.
You know.
So
I didn't get that memo.
I'm just telling you, it's out there, okay?
No, you're missing the point. I didn't tell you that. Because I had the native tribe come after me when I cut my tree down, right? Members of the native tribe?
They probably didn't know you cut it down.
Oh, no. I had a 150-foot tree in my front yard.
That would be noticeable.
Oh, yes. It was very noticeable, but it was only 48 years old.
Ah.
It was one of the first genetically altered trees that Georgia Pacific started planting in the Northwest. My neighbor worked for Georgia Pacific in the forestry department.
Yeah.
So him and his partner planted that tree. Well, at that point when I got it cut down, it was like 46 years old. So they planted the tree in 1930-something.
Okay.
And 30 or 40s. And I cut it down in 2006 to put my home up.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, you could definitely say it was noticeable because the trunk was 5 feet in the base.
Okay.
So it wasn't a small tree.
That is a nice tree.
Oh, yeah, I still got two of the chunks that I had cut. I believe I should still have in my backyard because I cut two of the center pieces to eventually to be chairs or benches in the back for me in my backyard.
Okay.
You know, so that was the one thing I wanted to cut and save, so I had that. And these are things I think about, you know, when I was, you know, doing some of my planning for my land.
Oh, hey.
But remember, building permits, I built my house up and everything, and I didn't have no building permits. And I've helped people in my town build homes without building permits.
Hey, I got to hand a shout-out to the Native Americans there who protested the pipeline. They won their case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm wondering when they're going to file the criminal charges on the perpetrators.
I don't know.
You know?
So, anyway, I just saw that people didn't know that. They did win it. And they're trying to get their legal defense fund. We had them on a show a couple of weeks ago asking for donations, $1 for everybody that could, you know, do it. So, and that reminds me, it's now 5 days in the month, and I haven't made my commitment payment yet. So I got to get on there and do it. So.
Well, I got to finish my other instrument, because tomorrow I got to get the envelope so I get that mailed out this week.
Yeah. So anyway, International Defense Fund for, I forgot what we had it on the website. I don't remember what it is right now, but anyway, if anybody can contribute to Native Americans International Defense Fund, send them $1 or $2 or whatever you feel you can justify yourself. The more the merrier. These people did a long, hard fight. This was, almost a year, and they finally won their case. So my hat's off to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that doesn't mean it's over, because I know the oil companies, I know the Bureau of Land Management and all that, how they operate. So.
Well,
and for right now, they showed a map on TV the other day. They're going to take it north, and they're going to take the line north and east, and then come across the river at another spot. But I think it's still Indian territory, so they're going to be screwed again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because most of North and South Dakota belong to the Indian.
Yep. That's the one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't want that pipeline going across the river. So.
Yeah, we already had one river destroyed of oil leak, literally.
Yep.
Yeah, you got too many people going, I need a job.
This fracking scares me more than the oil lines.
Oh, I know. I agree with you there. And then we're wondering why we're having more earthquakes now in history, because of fracking, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even some of their top experts walked away from fracking.
All it's going to take is one slip up to trigger a great fault, and I yield.
You bet.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And I know I'm living on 2 fault lines here in Oregon and California.
I'm living on one that I think goes right by my house. Comes out of Lake Erie. Comes all the way down to, I forgot where it ends, someplace down in Hardin County. But it shattered. It shook my house one day. I could feel the vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 6-point-something earthquake up in near Lake Erie, and it vibrated my house. So I know I'm close. So anyway,
yeah, people say that doesn't have effect on people when it does.
You bet it does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, my friend, it's 11:19. I don't know how much. What else?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the same thing. And so, like I said, I still got a lot of research I have to do this week and get a few other things done myself. So this way we can bring it back next week.
Man, make next week the best show. Make next week a really good hit, because man, it'd be nice to see that. I yield.
Oh yeah.
You bet. So encourage your friends to drop in and listen to the call. We'll try to keep it to a reasonable time. 11:19 is getting a little late here on the East Coast, but most people have to get around and get to bed for getting up in the morning and go to work. So, but anyway, I think we ought to call it quits for tonight and let people get to bed. So
I agree with you. Go ahead and close yourself.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody coming in and the comments and the thoughts and the cases brought forth, and hopefully we're helpful to you, not the discouragement. We're trying to help educate you into how to file your cases, give you suggestions to get her done. We know that all the Title III courts were dissolved in the Bankruptcy Act of 1933, so that seems to be a major problem with the pseudo-corporate courts that are operating in fraud against us, because pseudo-corporate courts are unconstitutional courts. That's what these people are. They're operating under British government law. So they don't tell you what laws they're practicing when you go into court. So when you go into court, your first question you need to ask the judge is, Your Honor, I'm not sure I can defend myself in this court because I don't know what law you're practicing against me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not practicing constitutional law, which is the supreme law of the land, what fraud are you running against me? He might get upset over that comment.
Then again, he could tell you just to leave.
Yeah. Ask him what his jurisdiction is. And if he says, I have it, say that's not good enough, prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he says, well, you prove I do. And then you say, it's not my job to prove you do. It's your job to prove you do.
Right.
And this case cannot move forward until you truly establish jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So you let me know. I move for an extension of this case until you can prove jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me what law you're practicing against me, because I have to prepare now. Once I know what law you're practicing against me, I need to prepare. And do you change that law every time you walk outside the court and then come back in? Or are you looking at my paperwork and telling me you don't see my claim? And you put everything into court as a claim. You don't put it in there as, I believe this or I believe that. No, claim 1, claim 2. You stole my property. 2, you acted illegally against me. Claim 3. And you name them. Mm-hmm. And then at the end you put your remedy. You slandered name and paper. You slandered you assassinated my character by putting me in jail.
Public humiliation.
In the court. And go on and on and on and on and on. So then don't forget punitive damages. You hurt my wife. You hurt my children. You hurt, by your actions. Punitive damages. You interrupted my sex life because my wife was so upset.
That's punitive damages.
That's worth $100 billion right there in itself. So, some guy got a large sum of money for that. I forgot what case it was, but he did get a lot of money, $5 million or something like that, for them screwing up his sex life. So,
those things do happen.
But you need, those are the things you need to put in your remedy. Punitive damages. And all these courts are running a bond, commodities, and TSIP fraud scheme against everyone who enters their court. We have it on writing, or have it on tape recorded conversation with the prosecuting attorney of Richland County, Ohio, where he admitted that all courts are running this bond, commodities, QSIP fraud scheme. The minute they create commodities, they are a bank, not a court. So they have to true bill and invoice you instead of charging you fees, which the Supreme Court's already ruled they can't do in the first place, because we have free access. So that pretty much sums up tonight's conversation. Enjoy your week and do some research on your own. Come back and add to the conversation. We'd love to hear it. If you prove us wrong, we'll admit it. So with that, Ed, I'll say goodnight.
Got it. Anyhow, I'd like to thank you all for joining us again. We appreciate the education we're able to bring. We had some good conversations tonight. Now we got to make sure next week when they come back, we got some resolution to some of this stuff. And it's getting out there. Because it's going to take all of us to start doing this, because once we start proving to ourselves that this could be the change, and this is the change, and this is what we're looking down in the future, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. So it takes people working together. This is not an issue of race, religion, Bibles, or whatever else. This is men and women who are standing up for the right and the wrongs of what we see in front of our face. And we can see the wrongs, now we have to correct them, and so that's what we're working on. And so, you know, with us and others that are working on templates as well, may the Great Spirit be with you and bless you, and then I will let Toast end, and you all have a wonderful night.
Nope. Give the date, the time, and close it out.
Oh, I've got to learn that one, don't I? 8:32 p.m., December 5th, 2016, Monday.
Pacific time.
Oh, yeah, 8:33 p.m. Pacific time. That would be what, 11:30 Eastern time.
Right.
All right. May y'all have a good one, and we will talk to you soon. And we'll get the other information out to you as soon as I can as well. Good night. The recording has ended.
He's going to do the board. I don't know.
I think so. Well, it says live conference off.
You have to turn the recording off before you turn the live conference off.
I did turn the recording off.
No, it's not. It's still on. I'm seeing it.
Well, then, wait a minute. Are you sure you want to drop all calls and disconnect conference? Yes.
Goodbye.